In this video, we're going to be breaking down 2 hours of Ballon d'Or history by looking into the winners, the controversies, and the legends. Let's get into it. The origins and early history, 1956 to 1969. Stanley Matthews was 41 years old when he became the first person to ever hold the Ballon d'Or. The English winger received a trophy that would go on to define careers, spark global debates, and become the ultimate symbol of individual excellence in football. The year was 1956, and football was a very different game. Television coverage was limited, international travel was expensive, and most fans only knew players from their own leagues. Against this backdrop, Gabriel Hinault and his colleagues at France Football magazine had a revolutionary idea: create an award to recognize the best football player in Europe. The timing wasn't accidental. European football was experiencing unprecedented growth. The newly formed European Cup had captured imaginations across the continent, bringing together the best clubs for the first time. Real Madrid's early dominance, led by Alfredo Di Stefano, was creating a new breed of football superstar, but there was no individual award to complement the team glory. France Football's solution was elegant in its simplicity. They would ask football journalists from across Europe to vote for the best player. Each journalist would select their top 5 players, awarding 5 points to their first choice, 4 to their second, and so on. The player with the most points would win the golden ball. The restrictions, however, were significant. Only players of European nationality were eligible, and they had to play for clubs in European leagues. This meant Brazilian legends like Pelé, despite their obvious talent, couldn't be considered. The same applied to other South American stars who were already making waves in their domestic leagues. When Stanley Matthews lifted that first trophy, few could have predicted what they were witnessing. Matthews was nearing the end of an extraordinary career that had already spanned 2 decades. His dribbling skills were legendary, his longevity remarkable, and his sporting behavior exemplary. But at 41, he seemed an unlikely choice to inaugurate football's most important individual award. The selection reflected the voting journalists' respect for experience and achievement rather than current form. Matthews had just helped Blackpool win the FA Cup in dramatic fashion, coming back from 3-1 down against Bolton Wanderers in what became known as the Matthews Final. His performance that day, weaving magic down the right wing, reminded everyone why he was considered one of the greatest players of his generation. The reaction to Matthews' victory was mixed. Some praised the choice, arguing that lifetime achievement deserved recognition. Others questioned whether the award should honor current excellence rather than career accomplishments. This debate about criteria would resurface repeatedly throughout the Ballon d'Or's history. The second winner, Alfredo Di Stefano, in 1957, seemed more predictable. The Real Madrid star had dominated European football, leading his club to back-to-back European Cup victories. But Di Stefano's eligibility raised questions that exposed the award's early complexities. Born in Argentina, Di Stefano had represented 3 different countries during his career. He played for Argentina early on, then Spain, and even briefly Colombia. His multinational background sparked debates about what constituted European nationality. France Football decided his Spanish passport made him eligible, but critics argued the decision was motivated by his club's success rather than clear criteria. This controversy highlighted a fundamental issue with early Ballon d'Or voting. The rules seemed flexible, interpreted differently depending on circumstances. When convenient, officials emphasized strict nationality requirements. When those same requirements threatened to exclude obvious candidates, exceptions were found. Di Stefano would win again in 1959, cementing his status as the award's first multiple winner. His dominance coincided with Real Madrid's unprecedented success in the European Cup. The Spanish club won the first 5 editions of the competition, with Di Stefano playing a starring role in each victory. The connection between club success and individual recognition became clear during this period. Players from successful teams, particularly those performing well in Europe, had significant advantages. This created an inherent bias toward attacking players from strong clubs, something that would persist throughout the award's history. Between Di Stefano's victories, Raymond Kopa claimed the 1,958 award. The French playmaker had starred for Real Madrid and led France to 3rd place at the World Cup. His victory represented a shift toward recognizing international tournament performances, another trend that would define future selections. The late 1950 seconds established several patterns that continue today. Club success mattered enormously. International tournament performances carried extra weight. Attacking players had advantages over defenders and goalkeepers, and media narratives could influence voting as much as actual performances. Luis Suarez's victory in 1960 proved controversial for reasons that revealed the complexity of evaluating football excellence across different leagues and playing styles. The Spanish midfielder, representing Barcelona, was an exceptional talent whose technical abilities and tactical intelligence made him one of the most complete players of his generation. His subsequent move to Inter Milan and success with the Spanish national team would vindicate the selection, but at the time, many observers questioned whether he deserved recognition over other candidates. The controversy primarily centered around Ferenc Puskás, the Hungarian legend who had been scoring prolifically for Real Madrid since his arrival from the disbanded Hungarian national team. Puskás represented one of football's great tragic figures, a player whose career had been disrupted by political upheaval and whose peak years were split between different countries and contexts. Puskás had been the star of the legendary Hungarian team that dominated international football in the early 1950 seconds, remaining unbeaten for 32 consecutive matches and revolutionizing tactical approaches with their innovative formations and movement patterns. The team's 6-3 victory over England at Wembley in 1953 had shattered assumptions about English football superiority while showcasing a level of technical sophistication that seemed years ahead of its time. However, the Hungarian Revolution of 1956 had scattered this great team across Europe, with many players unable to return to their homeland due to political circumstances. Puskás found himself in exile, eventually joining Real Madrid after a complex legal battle that delayed his integration into the Spanish club setup. By 1960, Puskás had established himself as one of Real Madrid's most important players, forming a devastating partnership with Di Stefano that terrorized defenses across Europe. His goal-scoring record was phenomenal, combining power and precision in ways that made him almost impossible to stop when positioned near the penalty area. The debate over Suarez versus Puskás highlighted fundamental questions about how voters should evaluate different types of contribution and playing styles. Puskás was primarily a goal scorer, using his left foot to devastating effect and positioning himself intelligently to maximize scoring opportunities. His statistics were undeniable, but his overall game was more specialized than Suarez's more complete skill set. Suarez, by contrast, was a complete midfielder whose contributions extended far beyond statistical measures. His passing range and accuracy were exceptional, his tactical understanding was sophisticated, and his ability to control game tempo made him indispensable to both Barcelona and Spain. However, these qualities were harder to quantify and communicate than simple goal tallies. The selection of Suarez suggested that voters were beginning to appreciate the full spectrum of football excellence rather than focusing exclusively on goal-scoring achievements. This evolution toward more nuanced evaluation would prove important for future midfielders and defenders seeking recognition, though attacking players would continue to enjoy significant advantages. The controversy also reflected the growing rivalry between Real Madrid and Barcelona, which was beginning to extend beyond sporting competition into cultural and political symbolism. The selection of a Barcelona player over a Real Madrid star carried implications that transcended individual merit, touching on broader questions of regional identity and sporting allegiance. This political dimension would become increasingly important as El Clásico evolved into one of world sport's most significant rivalries. Future Ballon d'Or selections involving players from these clubs would be scrutinized for potential bias while generating debates that extended far beyond football performance. The early 1960 seconds saw the award spread across different countries and playing styles, reflecting the voters' growing appreciation for diverse approaches to football excellence. Omar C. Vori's victory in 1961 recognized South American flair adapted to European tactical frameworks, demonstrating that the award could celebrate different footballing philosophies. Sivori, an Argentine forward playing for Juventus, combined technical brilliance with goal-scoring prowess in ways that captivated Italian audiences and impressed journalists across Europe. His dribbling skills were extraordinary, his first touch was sublime, and his ability to create scoring opportunities from seemingly impossible positions made him a constant threat to opposing defenses. The selection also suggested that voters were beginning to look beyond the obvious choices from Real Madrid and other established powerhouses, recognizing exceptional talent regardless of club affiliation. Juventus wasn't among Europe's most successful clubs during this period, but Sivori's individual brilliance transcended team limitations. His victory highlighted the growing influence of Serie A on European football, as Italian clubs began attracting international stars with competitive salaries and professional structures. The league's tactical sophistication and defensive excellence provided new challenges that tested players in different ways than other European competitions. Josef Massapust's triumph in 1962 represented perhaps the biggest surprise of the award's early years, demonstrating that exceptional tournament performances could elevate relatively unknown players to global recognition. The Czechoslovak midfielder wasn't widely celebrated outside his homeland before the 1962 World Cup, but his performances in Chile captured attention and imagination across the football world. Czechoslovakia's run to the World Cup final was unexpected, built around Massapust's versatility, work rate, and crucial goals throughout the tournament. His ability to contribute defensively while providing creative spark in attacking positions made him the perfect embodiment of the modern midfielder, comfortable in multiple roles and capable of influencing matches in various ways. The World Cup final against Brazil showcased Massapust's abilities on the biggest stage, as he scored the opening goal and demonstrated technical skills that impressed even Brazilian observers renowned for their own flair and creativity. Though Czechoslovakia ultimately lost 3-1, Massapust's performance had established his credentials as one of the tournament's outstanding players. His victory highlighted the growing influence of international tournaments on Ballon d'Or voting, demonstrating that World Cup performances could outweigh club achievements in voters' considerations. This precedent would encourage future players to time their peak performances around major tournaments, while creating additional pressure on international competitions. The selection also provided opportunities for players from smaller footballing nations to compete with superstars from traditional powers, creating a more democratic and inclusive award that reflected football's global development. Massapust proved that talent and dedication could overcome resource limitations and geographical disadvantages. Lev Yashin's victory in 1963 remains one of the most remarkable and unique achievements in Ballon d'Or history, representing the only time a goalkeeper has received the award in its nearly 7-decade existence. The Soviet keeper was undoubtedly exceptional, but his selection also reflected specific circumstances and voting patterns that would prove impossible to replicate. Yashin revolutionized goalkeeping with his athletic approach, commanding presence, and innovative techniques that redefined what was possible for players in his position. Nicknamed the Black Spider for his dark outfit and spider-like reach, he combined traditional shot-stopping abilities with modern distribution skills and organizational leadership that made him the prototype for contemporary goalkeepers. His shot-stopping ability was legendary, featuring reflexes and positioning that seemed almost supernatural in their effectiveness. Yashin's ability to make spectacular saves in crucial moments had preserved victories and inspired teammates throughout his career with the Soviet Union and Dynamo Moscow. But his influence extended far beyond individual saves toward revolutionizing how goalkeepers could contribute to team play. His distribution was accurate and intelligent, launching counterattacks with throws and kicks that caught opponents off guard. His communication and organization of defensive play were equally impressive, ensuring that his backline functioned as a coordinated unit rather than a collection of individuals. The decision to honor Yashin reflected voters' recognition that football excellence existed in all positions and that exceptional ability deserved recognition regardless of statistical limitations. Goalkeepers face inherent disadvantages in individual awards because their contributions involve preventing events rather than creating them, making their impact harder to quantify and celebrate. Yashin's victory also demonstrated the award's capacity to surprise and educate audiences about different aspects of football excellence. His selection forced observers to consider what constituted valuable contribution and how different positions should be evaluated relative to each other. However, subsequent decades would show that this open-mindedness was temporary rather than permanent. Defensive players would struggle to receive similar recognition, creating ongoing debates about positional bias and the criteria used for evaluation. Yashin's victory would stand as an anomaly rather than establishing precedent for future goalkeeper recognition. The rarity of defensive recognition would become a consistent criticism of Ballon d'Or voting, suggesting that the award reflected popular preferences for attacking entertainment rather than comprehensive evaluation of football excellence. This bias would influence player development and tactical approaches, as careers increasingly focused on statistical production rather than positional mastery. Denis Law's victory in 1964 brought the award to Britain for the second time, highlighting the growing influence of English football and the emergence of Manchester United as a European power. The Scottish striker combined pace, power, and clinical finishing in ways that terrorized defenses across Europe, while inspiring teammates with his competitive spirit and leadership qualities. Law's playing style epitomized the direct, physical approach that characterized British football during the 1,960 seconds. But his technical abilities and tactical intelligence elevated him above simple categorization as a traditional target man. His movement in the penalty area was exceptional, his finishing was clinical with either foot, and his ability to score spectacular goals made him a constant threat from any position. His partnership with George Best and Bobby Charlton formed one of football's greatest attacking trios, combining different strengths and styles in ways that created tactical problems for opposing teams. Law's goal-scoring instincts complemented Best's dribbling wizardry and Charlton's long-range shooting, creating multiple threats that defenders struggled to contain simultaneously. The selection also reflected the growing influence of English football on European consciousness, as the First Division was becoming increasingly competitive and attractive to international audiences. Television coverage was expanding, making British players more visible to European voters, while creating new commercial opportunities for the most successful clubs. Manchester United's emergence as a European contender provided the platform for Law's recognition, demonstrating how club success could elevate individual players to international prominence. The club's tragic history, particularly the Munich air disaster that had claimed the lives of several promising young players, added emotional dimensions that resonated with football audiences across Europe. Law's victory established important precedents about the relationship between individual brilliance and team success, suggesting that exceptional players could earn recognition even when their clubs hadn't achieved the ultimate prizes. This principle would become increasingly important as the award's scope expanded and competition intensified. The mid-1,960 seconds belonged to Eusebio, whose 1,965 victory recognized the emergence of one of football's most spectacular and influential players. The Portuguese striker, born in Mozambique during its colonial period, combined devastating pace with powerful shooting and remarkable athleticism that made him virtually unstoppable when approaching goal. Playing for Benfica, Eusebio had established himself as the logical successor to Di Stefano as European football's premier attacking player. His performances in the European Cup, particularly in victories over Real Madrid that ended their 5-year dominance, demonstrated his ability to excel against the highest level of opposition while handling the pressure that came with replacing legends. His playing style was explosive and direct, using pace and power to overwhelm defenders while possessing the technical skills necessary to succeed in European football's increasingly sophisticated tactical environment. His right foot was devastatingly powerful, capable of scoring from long range or finishing delicately in crowded penalty areas. Eusebio's African heritage added important dimensions to his story and the Ballon d'Or's evolving identity. Born in Mozambique when it was still a Portuguese colony, he represented Portugal internationally but remained proud of his African roots throughout his career. His success opened doors for future African players while demonstrating that talent could emerge from any background or geographical location. The colonial context of his career reflected broader political and social changes that were reshaping global football during the 1,960 seconds. The independence movements sweeping across Africa were creating new opportunities for players to represent their birth nations, though Eusebio's generation often faced difficult choices about international allegiance. His success also highlighted the growing importance of scouting networks and player development systems that could identify and nurture talent regardless of its origin. European clubs were beginning to recognize that exceptional ability existed worldwide, creating competitive advantages for organizations with global recruitment capabilities. Eusebio's influence on Portuguese football was transformational. elevating the national team's profile and inspiring future generations of players who would carry the country to unprecedented success in subsequent decades. His legacy would be particularly evident during Portugal's golden generation of the 2000 seconds and 2010 seconds. Bobby Charlton's victory in 1966 perfectly synchronized with England's World Cup triumph, demonstrating how international success could elevate players' profiles and create compelling narratives for individual recognition. The Manchester United midfielder had played crucial roles throughout the tournament, scoring vital goals and providing creative leadership that exemplified England's approach to football. Charlton's combination of long-range shooting, creative passing, and tireless work rate embodied the English philosophy of football that emphasized physical commitment combined with technical skill. His ability to score spectacular goals from distance made him a constant threat, while his passing range and vision created opportunities for teammates in more advanced positions. The timing of his victory, coinciding with England's first and only World Cup triumph, created emotional connections that transcended pure sporting achievement. Charlton had survived the Munich air disaster 8 years earlier, making his World Cup success a story of personal redemption as much as sporting excellence. His performances during the tournament showcased his abilities against diverse international opposition, particularly his goals in the semi-final victory over Portugal that eliminated Eusebio and demonstrated his capacity to excel when stakes were highest. The match provided direct comparison between two exceptional players while highlighting different approaches to attacking play. Charlton's selection also reflected the growing importance of World Cup success in Ballon d'Or considerations, establishing patterns that would influence future voting decisions. Players who excelled during major tournaments gained credibility and visibility that club achievements alone couldn't provide, creating incentives for peak performance during international competitions. With Manchester United provided the foundation for lasting recognition. Florian Albert's triumph in 1967 represented another surprise from Eastern Europe. The Hungarian striker played his entire career with Ferencváros, never testing himself in Western Europe's major leagues. But his technical ability, goal-scoring record, and leadership of Hungary's national team impressed voters looking beyond the obvious choices. Albert's victory also reflected the continuing influence of international football on award voting. His performances for Hungary, including at the 1966 World Cup, demonstrated that talent existed everywhere, not just in Western Europe's glamorous clubs. George Best's victory in 1968 brought excitement and controversy in equal measure. The Northern Irish winger was undoubtedly gifted, possessing pace, trickery, and flair that made him irresistible to watch. His performances for Manchester United, particularly in their European Cup victory, showcased abilities that transcended normal football boundaries. But Best's lifestyle was already attracting attention. His love of nightlife, fashion, and celebrity culture made him football's first true superstar in the modern sense. This combination of exceptional talent and off-field drama would define much of his career and influence how future players navigated fame. The selection of Best also highlighted evolving attitudes toward player behavior. Earlier winners had been models of sporting conduct, their personal lives rarely scrutinized. Best represented a new generation that embraced celebrity status, for better and worse. Gianni Rivera's victory in 1969 closed the decade with another milestone. The Italian midfielder was technically gifted, tactically intelligent, and remarkably consistent. His ability to control games from midfield, combined with an eye for goal, made him one of the most complete players of his generation. Rivera's success also reflected Italy's growing influence in European football. Serie A was becoming increasingly attractive to international players, while Italian clubs were beginning to dominate European competitions. This shift would define the 1970 seconds and establish Italy as a football superpower. The first decade of the Ballon d'Or established many precedents that continue today. The award recognized exceptional talent but was influenced by club success, international performances, and media narratives. Attacking players enjoyed advantages, though exceptional defenders and goalkeepers could still win recognition. Most importantly, the award had established itself as football's premier individual honor. Players across Europe now dreamed of lifting the golden ball. Coaches built teams around potential winners. Media coverage intensified around each year's announcement. The foundation was set for even greater drama in the decades ahead. The 1,970 seconds and 1,980 seconds, innovation, dominance, and controversies. Gerd Müller's victory in 1970 announced the arrival of a new decade with typical German efficiency. Der Bomber, as he was known, had just scored the goals that delivered West Germany to third place at the World Cup in Mexico. His 10 goals in the tournament matched the record, while his finishing ability redefined what strikers could achieve. The 1,970 seconds would prove to be a transformative decade for both football and the Ballon d'Or. New tactical approaches emerged, legendary players reached their peaks, and the award itself evolved to reflect football's changing landscape. The decade would also generate controversies that still spark debates among fans today. Johan Cruyff's first victory in 1971 signaled the beginning of a revolution. The Dutch forward wasn't just a player, he was a philosopher, an innovator, and the embodiment of total football. Playing for Ajax, Cruyff demonstrated that positions were fluid concepts, that players could interchange roles seamlessly, and that intelligence mattered as much as physical gifts. Cruyff's Ajax dominated European football during this period, winning 3 consecutive European Cups from 1971 to 1973. His role in this success went beyond scoring goals or creating assists. He was the conductor of an orchestra, the brain that made total football possible. His movement off the ball was as important as his actions with it. The impact of Cruyff's football extended far beyond trophies. He influenced an entire generation of players and coaches, spreading the gospel of intelligent, possession-based football. His famous turn, the Cruyff turn, became a symbol of technical mastery that young players worldwide attempted to master. But Cruyff's influence on the Ballon d'Or was equally significant. His victories in 1971, 1973, and 1974 established him as the award's first true superstar in the modern sense. His performances were analyzed, debated, and celebrated across continents. For the first time, the Ballon d'Or winner was a global celebrity whose influence extended beyond football. Franz Beckenbauer's interruption of Cruyff's dominance in 1972 and 1976 created one of football's great rivalries. The German libero represented a different footballing philosophy, one based on organization, discipline, and tactical sophistication. Where Cruyff was free-flowing and unpredictable, Beckenbauer was calculated and precise. Beckenbauer's victories were groundbreaking for another reason. He proved defenders could win the Ballon d'Or. His role as libero allowed him to influence games from deep positions, launching attacks while organizing defensive play. His vision and passing ability were comparable to any midfielder, while his leadership made him indispensable to both Bayern Munich and West Germany. The 1972 victory came after Beckenbauer had captained West Germany to victory in the European Championship. His performances throughout the tournament demonstrated how modern defenders could dominate games through intelligence and technical ability rather than just physical presence. His 1976 triumph was even more impressive, coming during a period when Bayern Munich won 3 consecutive European Cups. Beckenbauer's role in those victories was fundamental, proving that defenders could be just as valuable as goal-scoring forwards or creative midfielders. These victories established important precedents about positional bias in Ballon d'Or voting. While attacking players would continue to enjoy advantages, exceptional defenders could still achieve recognition. However, the rarity of such victories also highlighted how difficult it was for defensive players to compete with prolific goal-scorers and assist providers. Cruyff's 1973 victory represented the peak of his powers and Ajax's dominance. His performance in the European Cup final against Juventus was masterful, showcasing every aspect of his game. He scored the only goal, created numerous chances, and controlled the tempo of the match with typical authority. This period also saw Cruyff begin his transformation from player to global icon. His partnership with Puma created new standards for athlete endorsements, while his outspoken personality made him a media favorite. The Ballon d'Or became not just an award but a platform for expressing opinions about football's direction. The 1974 victory was perhaps Cruyff's most deserved and most controversial. Leading the Netherlands to the World Cup final, he played football that seemed to come from another planet. His performances against Brazil in the group stage and Argentina in the second round demonstrated technical brilliance combined with tactical intelligence. However, the final loss to West Germany sparked debates about whether individual brilliance should be rewarded despite team failure. Some argued that losing finalists shouldn't win the Ballon d'Or, while others contended that exceptional performances deserved recognition regardless of results. This debate would resurface repeatedly throughout the award's history. Should team success be a prerequisite for individual recognition? How should voters balance personal performances against collective achievement? Cruyff's 1974 victory established precedents that remain relevant today. Oleg Blokhin's triumph in 1975 was one of the decade's biggest surprises. The Soviet winger, playing for Dynamo Kiev, was relatively unknown outside Eastern Europe before his selection. His pace, crossing ability, and goal-scoring record impressed voters looking for fresh talent beyond Western Europe's established stars. Blokhin's victory reflected the continuing influence of international football on Ballon d'Or voting. His performances for the Soviet Union, particularly in qualifying for major tournaments, demonstrated the importance of national team success in award considerations. The selection also highlighted the award's growing global awareness. While still restricted to European players, voters were becoming more willing to recognize talent from across the continent. This opened opportunities for players from smaller footballing nations to compete with superstars from traditional powers. Franz Beckenbauer's second victory in 1976 confirmed his status as one of the decade's defining players. His leadership of Bayern Munich's third consecutive European Cup victory demonstrated sustained excellence at the highest level. His performances in the final against Saint-Étienne showcased defensive mastery combined with attacking flair. This victory also established Beckenbauer as the most successful German player in Ballon d'Or history. His two victories, combined with his World Cup and European Championship triumphs, created a legacy that influenced German football for generations. Allan Simonson's victory in 1977 represented another surprise from an unexpected source. The Danish winger, playing for Borussia Mönchengladbach, combined pace, technical ability, and goal-scoring prowess in a package that impressed voters across Europe. Simonson's success demonstrated that individual brilliance could overcome team limitations. While Borussia Mönchengladbach were successful domestically, they weren't among Europe's elite clubs. His personal performances, particularly in European competition, elevated him above more celebrated teammates at bigger clubs. The victory also reflected the Bundesliga's growing influence on European football. German clubs were becoming increasingly competitive in European competitions, while their tactical innovations were influencing football across the continent. Kevin Keegan's victories in 1978 and 1979 created the decade's most controversial consecutive win. The English forward, playing for Hamburg after leaving Liverpool, demonstrated remarkable consistency and professionalism. His work rate, goal-scoring ability, and leadership qualities impressed voters looking for complete footballers. However, both victories sparked significant debates. In 1978, many expected Michel Platini or other more technically gifted players to win. Keegan's selection seemed to reward effort over artistry, leading to questions about the award's criteria. The 1979 victory was even more controversial. Keegan had enjoyed a successful season with Hamburg, but his performances didn't seem exceptional compared to other candidates. Some suspected that his status as a popular, media-friendly figure influenced voting more than his actual footballing ability. These controversies highlighted growing tensions about the Ballon d'Or's direction. Should the award recognize the most talented players or the most successful? How important were personality and media relationships compared to pure footballing ability? Keegan's victories forced uncomfortable questions about voting motivations. The decade closed with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge's victory in 1980, followed by another win in 1981. The German striker represented a return to more conventional selections, recognizing prolific goal-scoring combined with technical ability. Rummenigge's success with Bayern Munich in both domestic and European competitions provided the foundation for his Ballon d'Or triumphs. His partnership with other German stars created one of the most formidable attacks in European football. His consecutive victories also established him as one of the award's most successful winners. Like Cruyff and Beckenbauer before him, Rummenigge proved that sustained excellence could be rewarded with multiple recognitions. The early 1,980 seconds marked a transitional period that would bridge the tactical innovations of the 1,970 seconds with the emerging global consciousness that would define football's next evolutionary phase. The Ballon d'Or continued adapting to changing football landscapes while maintaining its essential character as the sport's premier individual recognition. Michel Platini's emergence as a transformative force in European football began building momentum in the early 1,980 seconds, though his dominance wouldn't fully manifest until later in the decade. The French midfielder's technical abilities were already evident, but his tactical understanding and leadership qualities were still developing under the guidance of coaches who recognized his exceptional potential. Paolo Rossi's victory in 1982 represented one of the most dramatic and emotionally compelling individual narratives in Ballon d'Or history, demonstrating how personal redemption and sporting excellence could combine to create truly transcendent moments. The Italian striker had emerged from the shadows of scandal and injury to lead Italy to World Cup victory through performances that captured global imagination. Rossi's journey to 1,982 World Cup glory was fraught with obstacles that would have ended lesser careers. His involvement in the Totonero match-fixing scandal had resulted in a lengthy suspension that kept him away from competitive football during crucial developmental years. When he finally returned, serious knee injuries threatened to undermine his physical capabilities and goal-scoring instincts. The suspension itself had been controversial, with many observers questioning whether Rossi's involvement had been significant enough to warrant such severe punishment. His exclusion from football during what should have been his prime years created doubts about whether he could ever recapture the form that had marked him as one of Italy's most promising talents. The physical rehabilitation required after his knee injuries was extensive and uncertain, involving experimental treatments and training methods that weren't guaranteed to restore his previous athletic capabilities. Many players faced with similar challenges had been forced into premature retirement, making Rossi's eventual return to elite competition remarkable in itself. His selection for Italy's 1,982 World Cup squad was heavily criticized by media and fans who questioned whether he possessed the fitness and form necessary to contribute meaningfully to the team's ambitions. His early tournament performances seemed to justify these concerns, as he appeared slow and disconnected from the tactical rhythm that characterized Italy's play. However, Rossi's transformation during the tournament became one of football's most compelling redemption stories, culminating in performances that reminded everyone why he had been considered exceptional before his problems began. His hat-trick against Brazil in the second round remains one of the most memorable individual displays in World Cup history. The match against Brazil was particularly significant because it eliminated the tournament favorites while demonstrating Rossi's capacity to perform under ultimate pressure. His 3 goals showcased different aspects of his complete striker's repertoire: predatory instincts in the penalty area, clinical finishing under pressure, and intelligent movement that created scoring opportunities. The emotional impact of Rossi's performances extended far beyond statistical achievements, representing themes of perseverance and redemption that resonated with audiences worldwide. His ability to overcome personal and professional adversity while achieving sporting immortality provided inspiration that transcended football's traditional boundaries. His Ballon d'Or victory was relatively uncontroversial, reflecting widespread recognition that his World Cup performances had been genuinely exceptional rather than simply opportunistic. The combination of personal drama and sporting excellence created compelling narratives that satisfied both statistical and emotional criteria for individual recognition. The selection also reinforced the enormous influence of World Cup performances on Ballon d'Or voting, demonstrating that exceptional tournament displays could overcome modest club seasons and personal difficulties. This precedent would encourage future players to time their peak performances around major international competitions. Michel Platini's 3 consecutive victories from 1,983 to 1,985 represented one of the most dominant periods in Ballon d'Or history, establishing him as the most successful winner of the decade, while showcasing technical abilities that redefined what was possible for creative midfielders. Platini's first victory in 1983 recognized a player who had reached complete maturity, combining exceptional technical skills with tactical intelligence and leadership qualities that made him indispensable to both Juventus and France. His ability to control matches through vision, passing, and strategic thinking demonstrated evolution beyond pure technical excellence toward comprehensive football mastery. Playing for Juventus during their most successful period, Platini had found the perfect environment to showcase his abilities while competing against the world's best players in Serie A. The Italian league's tactical sophistication and defensive excellence provided ideal challenges that tested every aspect of his game while forcing continuous improvement and adaptation. His free-kick technique became legendary during this period, combining power, precision, and deceptive trajectory in ways that made him virtually unstoppable from set-piece situations. His ability to score spectacular goals from impossible angles and distances added spectacular elements to his already complete skill set. The 1983 selection was relatively uncontroversial, recognizing a player whose performances had been consistently exceptional throughout the season. His combination of individual brilliance and team success provided compelling evidence that satisfied traditional voting criteria while showcasing innovative approaches to creative play. However, the subsequent victories in 1984 and 1985 generated increasing controversy and speculation about potential bias in voting processes. While Platini's abilities were undeniable, questions emerged about whether his achievements during these years merited recognition over other exceptional candidates. The 1984 triumph coincided with France's victory in the European Championship, a tournament where Platini's performances were genuinely extraordinary. His 9 goals in 5 matches represented goal-scoring productivity that seemed impossible for a creative midfielder, while his overall play demonstrated complete dominance of the competition. His performances throughout the tournament showcased every aspect of his technical repertoire while demonstrating leadership qualities that inspired teammates to achieve collective success. The combination of individual statistics and team triumph provided overwhelming evidence for Ballon d'Or recognition that few observers questioned. However, the 1985 victory proved more controversial, as Platini's season, while successful, didn't seem to reach the exceptional standards of his previous triumphs. Some critics suggested that voting momentum and France football's nationality might have influenced the selection, creating precedents for accusations of bias that would resurface in future controversial decisions. These allegations were never substantiated, but they highlighted the subjective nature of football evaluation and the potential for unconscious influences to affect voting decisions. The controversy also demonstrated how consecutive victories could create expectations and narratives that influence subsequent selections. The debate surrounding Platini's triple triumph reflected broader tensions about the award's criteria and the factors that should influence voting decisions. The questions raised about his final victory forced discussions about consistency, peak performance, and the role that nationality and media relationships might play in recognition. Despite these controversies, Platini's overall legacy as a Ballon d'Or winner remains secure, reflecting genuine excellence that combined technical brilliance with tactical intelligence and leadership qualities. His influence on creative midfield play was transformational, establishing new standards for vision, passing, and goal-scoring contribution from deeper positions. His 3 consecutive victories also established precedents about sustained excellence and the possibility of achieving multiple recognitions through consistent performance at the highest level. These achievements would inspire future legends while demonstrating that individual brilliance could be maintained across multiple seasons. The mid-1980 seconds also witnessed the emergence of new football powers and the continued evolution of tactical approaches that would influence the sport's global development. The increasing commercialization of European football was creating new opportunities and pressures that would reshape how players approach their careers and public personas. Television coverage was expanding dramatically, making football accessible to global audiences while creating new revenue streams that would transform the sport's economic foundations. The improved visual quality and expanded coverage allowed fans worldwide to witness exceptional performances while creating new markets for commercial exploitation. These technological and commercial developments were beginning to influence Ballon d'Or voting, as increased visibility created new pressures for spectacular performances, while commercial considerations became more important in player evaluation and public perception. The emergence of global superstars who could transcend sporting boundaries was becoming increasingly important for clubs and sponsors seeking to maximize commercial opportunities. Players who could combine exceptional ability with marketable personalities and broad appeal gained advantages that extended beyond pure footballing merit. These trends would accelerate throughout the remainder of the decade, creating new challenges and opportunities for Ballon d'Or voting while establishing frameworks that would define modern football's commercial and cultural landscape. The award itself was becoming a crucial component of player marketing and legacy building, adding extra dimensions to its sporting significance. The late 1980 seconds would see these various trends converge in ways that would establish new precedents for individual recognition while highlighting the ongoing tension between sporting merit and commercial appeal. The foundation was being laid for the global explosion that would transform football from a primarily European entertainment into the world's most popular sport. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge's consecutive victories in 1980 and 1981 had demonstrated that sustained excellence could earn repeated recognition, establishing him as one of the decade's most successful players, while showcasing the kind of complete forward play that would influence future striker development. However, his achievements would soon be overshadowed by new talents and evolving tactical approaches that would redefine what was possible for individual players. The stage was set for the revolutionary changes that would characterize the remainder of the 1980 seconds and beyond. The 1980 seconds established several important trends that would influence future Ballon d'Or selections. International tournament success became increasingly important, sometimes overshadowing club achievements. Media narratives and personality factors began playing larger roles in voting decisions. The decade also demonstrated that sustained excellence could be rewarded with multiple victories. Players like Platini and Rummenigge proved that consistent performance at the highest level could establish dynasties within the award's history. Most significantly, the 1980 seconds saw the Ballon d'Or's influence continue growing. Winning the award became increasingly important for players' legacies and commercial value. The Golden Ball was no longer just recognition, it was a career-defining achievement that could transform lives and establish lasting reputations. The controversies of this period also highlighted the award's subjective nature. Different voters prioritized different qualities, leading to selections that sometimes surprised observers. This subjectivity would become even more pronounced in future decades as media coverage intensified and fan opinions became more vocal. As the 1980 seconds concluded, the Ballon d'Or had established itself as football's most prestigious individual award. The foundation was set for even greater drama, controversy, and celebration in the decades ahead. The stage was prepared for new legends to emerge and claim their place in football's pantheon of greatness. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. 1990 seconds to early 2000 seconds, globalization and the rise of superstars. Lothar Matthäus lifted the 1990 Ballon d'Or as both a World Cup winner and the embodiment of German football excellence. The midfielder had captained West Germany to victory in Italy, scoring crucial goals and demonstrating the leadership qualities that defined great players. His victory seemed logical, even inevitable, given his performances throughout a remarkable year. Yet this triumph would mark the end of an era. The 1990 seconds were about to transform football beyond recognition. The introduction of the Champions League, the arrival of global television audiences, and most significantly, the expansion of Ballon d'Or eligibility would create opportunities for players from every continent to compete for football's greatest individual prize. The decision to open the award to players of all nationalities in 1995 represented a seismic shift. For nearly 4 decades, the Ballon d'Or had been restricted to European players, creating an artificial limitation that excluded some of football's greatest talents. Pelé, despite his obvious brilliance, had never been eligible. Neither had Diego Maradona during his peak years, nor countless other South American and African stars who had illuminated the game. This expansion coincided with football's growing commercialization and global reach. Television deals were bringing European football to audiences worldwide, while players from different continents were increasingly moving to European clubs. The beautiful game was becoming truly global, and its premier individual award needed to reflect this reality. Jean-Pierre Papin's victories in 1991 represented the old order's final flourish. The French striker, playing for Marseille, combined clinical finishing with remarkable consistency. His 30 goals in 33 league appearances during the 199-192 season demonstrated the kind of prolific scoring that had traditionally impressed Ballon d'Or voters. Papin's success also reflected the growing importance of the Champions League's predecessor, the European Cup. His performances for Marseille in European competition, particularly his goals against AC Milan and other elite opponents, elevated his profile beyond French football. However, Papin's career would later be overshadowed by the match-fixing scandal that engulfed Marseille. While he wasn't personally implicated, the revelation that his club had been involved in corruption cast shadows over their achievements during this period. Marco van Basten's victories in 1988, 1989, and 1992 established him as one of the award's greatest winners. The Dutch striker combined technical brilliance with clinical finishing in ways that seemed almost supernatural. His goal in the 1988 European Championship final, volleyed from an impossible angle, remains one of football's most spectacular strikes. Van Basten's playing style influenced an entire generation of forwards. His first touch was immaculate, his movement intelligent, and his finishing devastating. He could score with either foot, his head, or from any position around the penalty area. Defenders struggled to predict his movements because he possessed such a complete range of skills. Tragically, ankle injuries forced Van Basten to retire at just 28 years old, robbing football of one of its greatest talents during what should have been his prime years. His abbreviated career makes his 3 Ballon d'Or victories even more remarkable, representing peak achievement in a cruelly shortened time span. The early 1990 seconds also witnessed Roberto Baggio's triumph in 1993. The Italian playmaker represented a different type of footballer, one who combined South American flair with European tactical discipline. His ability to create magic from seemingly impossible situations made him irresistible to watch. Baggio's victory came during a season where he almost single-handedly carried Juventus to UEFA Cup success. His performances throughout that campaign demonstrated the kind of individual brilliance that could elevate entire teams. His technical ability, creativity, and goal-scoring prowess from midfield positions marked him as a unique talent. However, Baggio's career would be forever marked by his penalty miss in the 1994 World Cup final. Standing alone as Brazil celebrated around him, Baggio became a symbol of individual heartbreak despite collective achievement. The image of his dejected figure after the penalty sailed over the crossbar remains one of football's most poignant moments. Hristo Stoichkov's victory in 1994 represented Bulgaria's greatest moment in international football. The Barcelona forward had led his country to an unexpected 4th-place finish at the World Cup, scoring 6 goals and demonstrating the kind of fearless attacking play that made him a fan favorite. Stoichkov's success reflected the award's continuing evolution. His victory showed that players from smaller footballing nations could compete with superstars from traditional powers, provided their performances reached exceptional levels. His combination of pace, power, and technical ability made him one of the most feared attackers of his generation. The partnership between Stoichkov and Romario at Barcelona created one of football's most exciting attacking combinations. Their contrasting styles, Stoichkov's directness and power complementing Romario's finesse and creativity, produced spectacular results and unforgettable moments. Then came the seismic shift of 1995. George Weah's victory as the first African-born player to win the Ballon d'Or represented more than just individual recognition. It was a statement about football's global nature, a declaration that talent could emerge from anywhere and achieve the highest recognition. Weah's journey to the top was remarkable. Born in Liberia, he began his European career with modest clubs before eventually finding his way to Monaco, Paris Saint-Germain, and finally AC Milan. His physical attributes, pace, power, and athleticism were obvious, but his technical development in Europe transformed him into a complete player. At AC Milan, Weah formed part of one of the most formidable attacking lineups in football history. Playing alongside Roberto Baggio, Savicevic, and other world-class talents, he demonstrated that he belonged among Europe's elite. His ability to score spectacular goals, combined with his work rate and team play, made him an ideal modern forward. Weah's victory resonated far beyond football. In Africa, he became a symbol of possibility, proof that continental players could achieve anything in the world game. His success opened doors for future generations of African players, many of whom would cite him as an inspiration. The impact extended to Liberia itself, where Weah became a national hero whose influence transcended sport. His later transition into politics, eventually becoming president of Liberia, demonstrated the platform that football success could provide for broader social impact. Matthias Sammer's triumph in 1996 seemed to represent a return to more traditional selections after the global expansion, recognizing a German defender whose performances as a libero for Borussia Dortmund and Germany combined defensive solidity with attacking flair in ways that recalled Franz Beckenbauer's revolutionary approach to the position. Sammer's victory came during a period when Germany was reasserting its footballing dominance following reunification and the challenges of integrating different playing styles and tactical traditions. His performances during the European Championship showcased leadership qualities and tactical intelligence that made him indispensable to Germany's success. The German defender's playing style reflected the evolution of the libero position from pure defensive sweeping toward more complete contribution that included creative passing and occasional goal scoring. His ability to read developing play allowed him to intercept attacks while launching counterattacks through precise distribution. His club success with Borussia Dortmund provided additional evidence for his exceptional abilities, as the German club was establishing itself as a European power through tactical innovation and systematic player development. Sammer's role in their Champions League triumph demonstrated his capacity to excel at the highest level of club competition. However, Sammer's selection also highlighted the continuing challenges faced by defensive players in Ballon d'Or voting, as his victory felt somewhat surprising compared to attacking players who had enjoyed more statistically productive seasons. The rarity of defensive recognition made each such selection seem more remarkable than it should have been. The choice also reflected voters' respect for players who could influence matches through intelligence and tactical understanding rather than pure physical or technical attributes. Sammer's football brain was as important as his athletic abilities, demonstrating how modern defenders needed comprehensive skill sets. Ronaldo's arrival on the global stage in 1996 and 1997 announced the emergence of football's next superstar, a Brazilian forward whose combination of pace, power, and technical ability seemed almost unfair to opponents and redefined what was possible for attacking players. The young Brazilian's first Ballon d'Or victory in 1996, at just 20 years old, established him as the youngest winner in the award's history at that time, while showcasing precocious talent that suggested even greater achievements ahead. His performances for Brazil and Barcelona had captured global attention through displays of individual brilliance that seemed to come from another planet. Ronaldo's playing style during this period was explosive and direct, using devastating acceleration and close ball control to overwhelm defenders who simply couldn't match his combination of speed and technical precision. His ability to score from seemingly impossible situations made him a constant threat, regardless of match circumstances. At Barcelona, Ronaldo was beginning to demonstrate the complete striker's repertoire that would define his career, combining predatory instincts in penalty areas with creative abilities that allowed him to contribute to overall team play. His partnership with other talented players showed how individual brilliance could be integrated into sophisticated tactical systems. The 1996 victory was built on performances that combined individual statistics with memorable moments and crucial contributions during important matches. His goals in the Copa America and his early Barcelona displays provided compelling evidence for recognition despite his relative youth and limited European experience. However, even during his peak performances, observers noted physical vulnerabilities that would later become significant problems. His reliance on explosive pace and sudden changes of direction placed enormous stress on knee joints that weren't adequately supported by the medical and conditioning knowledge available during the 1990 seconds. The second victory in 2002, coming after his traumatic experience in the 1998 World Cup final and serious knee injuries that threatened his career, represented one of football's greatest comeback stories. His performances during the 2002 World Cup demonstrated remarkable mental resilience and physical recovery that seemed almost miraculous. Leading Brazil to World Cup victory while scoring 8 goals in the tournament, including both in the final against Germany, Ronaldo proved that exceptional talent could overcome even the most severe setbacks. His redemption story resonated globally while establishing new standards for perseverance and professional dedication. The period between his victories illustrated both Ronaldo's brilliance and football's cruel capacity for destroying careers through injury and circumstance. The knee problems that robbed him of several prime years forced him to modify his playing style while maintaining effectiveness through intelligence and positioning rather than pure athleticism. His impact on striker development and tactical evolution was profound, influencing how youth academies approached player conditioning and injury prevention while demonstrating the importance of technical skills that could survive physical decline. His example showed how great players could adapt their games while maintaining excellence. Zinedine Zidane's victory in 1998 crowned a year that established him as one of football's greatest players, while showcasing performances that combined technical brilliance with big-game mentality in ways that defined clutch performance under ultimate pressure, leading France to World Cup victory on home soil through a tournament that captured global attention. Zidane's 2 headers in the final against Brazil demonstrated his ability to deliver when his country needed him most. The goals were technically excellent, but also symbolically powerful, representing France's emergence as a multicultural footballing superpower. Zidane's playing style was unique in its combination of physical presence and technical refinement, using his height and strength to dominate aerial duels, while possessing first touch and passing abilities that seemed almost supernatural in their precision. His movement was deceptively elegant, disguising explosive acceleration and remarkable balance. The 1998 World Cup final performance became iconic not just for its statistical contribution, but for its demonstration of leadership and mental strength under enormous pressure. Playing in front of his home crowd, with national expectations weighing heavily, Zidane delivered a masterclass in big-game performance. His technical abilities were most evident in his ball control and passing range, which allowed him to influence matches from various positions while maintaining the vision necessary to create scoring opportunities for teammates. His first touch could kill any pass, regardless of pace or trajectory, while his distribution was precise across any distance. The victory also reflected France's emergence as a footballing philosophy that emphasized technical excellence combined with physical attributes and tactical intelligence. The 1998 team represented a perfect synthesis of different cultural influences and playing styles that created something greater than the sum of its parts. Zidane's influence on French football culture was transformational, inspiring new approaches to player development and tactical education that emphasized creativity alongside systematic preparation. His success provided a template that influenced how future generations of French players approached their careers. The global impact of his performances extended beyond France toward establishing new standards for midfield play and creative contribution. His demonstration that technical brilliance could coexist with physical dominance influenced player development programs worldwide. Rivaldo's triumph in 1999 represented Brazil's continuing production of exceptional talents, while showcasing a player whose versatility and creativity made him one of the most complete attacking players of his generation. The Barcelona forward's left foot was capable of producing magic from any position on the field, combining power and precision in ways that made him equally dangerous from long range or in crowded penalty areas. His technical abilities were extraordinary, featuring ball control and dribbling skills that seemed to defy defensive logic. Rivaldo's versatility was perhaps his greatest strength, as he could excel as an attacking midfielder, supporting striker, or wide forward depending on tactical requirements and match situations. His ability to create chances for teammates while scoring spectacular goals himself made him invaluable to both Barcelona and Brazil. His performances throughout 1999 demonstrated the consistency required to win the Ballon d'Or, combining exceptional club displays with crucial international contributions that showcased his abilities against diverse opposition. His goals and assists for Barcelona helped establish the club's tactical identity, while his Brazil performances maintained his country's footballing dominance. The selection continued South America's strong representation in the award during this period, reflecting the continent's continued production of technically gifted players who could adapt their skills to European tactical demands while maintaining the creativity and flair that characterized South American football. Rivaldo's playing style influenced how creative players approached their development and career choices, demonstrating that versatility and adaptability could be more valuable than specialization in specific positions. His success encouraged other players to develop broader skill sets while maintaining their individual strengths. Luis Figo's victory in 2000 proved to be one of the most controversial in Ballon d'Or history, not for the selection itself, but for its aftermath that created one of football's most bitter and enduring rivalries. The Portuguese winger had enjoyed an exceptional season with Barcelona, demonstrating pace, crossing ability, and goal-scoring prowess that made him one of Europe's premier players. His technical skills were outstanding, his work rate was exemplary, and his crucial contributions during important matches provided compelling evidence for individual recognition. Figo's playing style combined traditional wing play with modern tactical intelligence, using his pace to beat defenders while possessing the vision and passing ability necessary to create scoring opportunities for teammates. His crossing was particularly effective, delivering balls with pace and precision that made life difficult for opposing defenses. However, his subsequent transfer to Real Madrid for a world record fee created one of football's most dramatic betrayals, as Barcelona fans felt abandoned by their former hero's move to their greatest rivals. The animosity reached dangerous levels, with objects thrown at Figo whenever he returned to the Camp Nou. The transfer highlighted football's increasing commercialization and the tensions between sporting loyalty and financial opportunity that were reshaping player careers and fan relationships. Figo's move represented a new era where even the most beloved players could be lured away by unprecedented financial offers. This controversy extended far beyond personal relationships toward broader questions about sporting integrity and commercial influence on player decisions. The amounts involved in the transfer suggested that traditional concepts of loyalty and club allegiance were being challenged by global commercial pressures. The reaction to Figo's transfer also demonstrated how football rivalries were evolving beyond sporting competition toward cultural and political symbolism. El Clasico matches involving Figo became charged with emotions that transcended normal competitive tensions. Michael Owen's victory in 2001 surprised many observers who expected other candidates to claim the award, with his selection seeming to reward potential rather than pure achievement when compared to other nominees who had enjoyed superior statistical seasons. The English striker's most obvious attribute was his pace, which allowed him to exploit defensive mistakes and create scoring opportunities from seemingly hopeless positions. His acceleration was devastating, his finishing was clinical in important matches, and his international performances for England had established him as one of Europe's most promising young talents. Owen's playing style was built around intelligent movement and clinical finishing rather than physical dominance or technical flair, demonstrating how different types of striker could succeed at the highest level through specialized skills and tactical understanding. However, critics argued that Owen's victory reflected the Premier League's growing influence on global football rather than pure sporting merit. English football was experiencing unprecedented growth, with improved stadiums, increased television coverage, and expanding international audiences, making Premier League players more visible to voters worldwide. The selection also highlighted ongoing debates about age and potential versus achievement and consistency in individual recognition. Owen was undoubtedly talented and had enjoyed a productive season, but some questioned whether his accomplishments merited recognition over more established players who had achieved superior results. These discussions reflected broader tensions about how individual awards should balance current performance against future potential, and whether young players should receive recognition based on promise rather than proven achievement over extended periods. Ronaldinho's absence from the winner's circle during his peak years remains one of the Ballon d'Or's most glaring omissions, representing a failure to recognize arguably the most entertaining player of his generation despite his obvious technical brilliance and global popularity. At Barcelona, Ronaldinho produced moments of magic that seemed to defy physics and logic, combining no-look passes, impossible dribbles, and spectacular goals in ways that made him appointment viewing for football fans everywhere. His performances transcended normal sporting boundaries and entered the realm of pure entertainment. His smile became as famous as his skills, representing pure joy for the beautiful game that resonated with audiences across cultural and linguistic boundaries. Ronaldinho's approach to football emphasized creativity and self-expression over purely systematic effectiveness, inspiring countless young players to pursue artistic excellence. The Brazilian's technical abilities were extraordinary, featuring ball control, dribbling skills, and creative vision that allowed him to succeed against any level of opposition while maintaining his distinctive style. His elastico became a signature move that epitomized his approach to beating defenders through unexpected technique. Yet Ronaldinho's failure to win the Ballon d'Or during his Barcelona peak highlighted the award's sometimes puzzling priorities and the increasing emphasis on team success over individual brilliance. His entertainment value and technical superiority seemed obvious, but voters consistently favored other candidates who may have been more successful collectively but were arguably less gifted individually. This period established patterns that would influence future Ballon d'Or selections, as the award became increasingly influenced by team success, media narratives, and commercial considerations rather than pure individual brilliance. Players needed more than exceptional talent. They required appropriate circumstances, timing, and support systems to achieve recognition. The early 2010s witnessed the emergence of new football powers and the decline of traditional hierarchies, as players from previously overlooked continents established themselves at Europe's biggest clubs while bringing different styles and approaches that enriched the global game. Television coverage was expanding the award's reach and influence exponentially, allowing fans worldwide to watch ceremonies live while creating global audiences that invested emotionally in outcomes. The Ballon d'Or was becoming a cultural event that transcended sport, generating debates and discussions that extended far beyond traditional football communities. Commercial interests were also playing increasingly important roles, as sponsors, agents, and media companies developed financial stakes in certain outcomes while creating additional pressures and influences on voting processes. The award was becoming part of football's broader entertainment industry rather than simply recognizing sporting excellence. These developments set the stage for the most dramatic and controversial period in Ballon d'Or history, and as the emergence of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo would create a duopoly that would dominate the award for over a decade while generating unprecedented global interest and passionate debate. Michael Owen's victory in 2001 surprised many observers who expected other candidates to claim the award. The English striker had enjoyed a productive season with Liverpool, but his selection seemed to reward potential rather than achievement compared to other nominees. Owen's pace was his most obvious weapon, allowing him to exploit defensive mistakes and create scoring opportunities from seemingly hopeless positions. His finishing was clinical, particularly in big matches, and his international performances for England had established him as one of Europe's most promising young talents. However, critics argued that Owen's victory reflected the Premier League's growing influence on global football rather than pure merit. English football was experiencing a golden period, with improved stadiums, increased television coverage, and growing international audiences making Premier League players more visible to voters worldwide. The selection also highlighted debates about age and potential versus achievement and consistency. Owen was undoubtedly talented, but some questioned whether his accomplishments merited recognition over more established players who had enjoyed superior seasons. Ronaldinho's absence from the winner's circle during his peak years remains one of the Ballon d'Or's most glaring omissions. The Brazilian playmaker was arguably the most entertaining player of his generation, combining technical brilliance with an infectious joy for the game that made him beloved worldwide. At Barcelona, Ronaldinho produced moments of magic that seemed to defy physics and logic. His no-look passes, impossible dribbles, and spectacular goals made him appointment viewing for football fans everywhere. His smile became as famous as his skills, representing pure love for the beautiful game. Yet Ronaldinho's failure to win the Ballon d'Or during his Barcelona peak highlighted the award's sometimes puzzling priorities. His individual brilliance and entertainment value seemed obvious, but voters consistently favored other candidates who may have been more successful but were arguably less talented. This period established patterns that would influence future Ballon d'Or selections. The award was becoming increasingly influenced by team success, media narratives, and commercial considerations rather than pure individual brilliance. Players needed more than exceptional talent. They required the right circumstances, timing, and support to achieve recognition. The early 2010s also witnessed the emergence of new football powers and the decline of traditional hierarchies. Players from previously overlooked continents were establishing themselves at Europe's biggest clubs, bringing different styles and approaches that enriched the global game. Television coverage was expanding the award's reach and influence. Fans worldwide could now watch the ceremonies live, creating global audiences that invested emotionally in the outcomes. The Ballon d'Or was becoming a cultural event that transcended sport, generating debates and discussions that extended far beyond football communities. Commercial interests were also playing increasingly important roles. Sponsors, agents, and media companies had financial stakes in certain outcomes, creating additional pressures and influences on the voting process. The award was becoming part of football's broader entertainment industry rather than simply recognizing sporting excellence. These developments set the stage for the most dramatic and controversial period in Ballon d'Or history. The emergence of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo would create a duopoly that would dominate the award for over a decade, while generating unprecedented global interest and debate. The Messi-Ronaldo era begins 2003 to 2009. Kaká's victory in 2007 represented the last hurrah of individual brilliance before the Messi-Ronaldo duopoly began. The Brazilian playmaker had orchestrated AC Milan's Champions League triumph with performances that reminded observers why he was considered one of the world's most gifted players. His combination of pace, technical ability, and vision created a unique style that was both effective and beautiful to watch. But even as Kaká celebrated his recognition, two young players were already emerging who would reshape not just the Ballon d'Or, but football itself. Lionel Messi, still a teenager at Barcelona, was beginning to show glimpses of the genius that would define the next decade. Meanwhile, Cristiano Ronaldo was developing at Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson's guidance, transforming from a tricky winger into a complete attacking force. The 2003 and 2004 ceremonies had belonged to established stars. Pavel Nedved's triumph in 2003 recognized his inspirational performances for Juventus, though his victory was somewhat overshadowed by the match-fixing scandals that would later emerge. His technical ability and work rate had made him indispensable to both club and country, representing the kind of complete midfielder that voters traditionally favored. Andriy Shevchenko's victory in 2004 seemed more predictable, crowning a striker who had terrorized defenses across Europe with his clinical finishing and intelligent movement. At AC Milan, Shevchenko formed part of one of the most formidable attacks in football history, combining with Kaká, Andrea Pirlo, and other world-class talents to create a team that dominated both domestically and internationally. Shevchenko's Ukrainian nationality also reflected the award's growing geographical diversity. Players from Eastern Europe were increasingly making their mark at the highest levels, bringing different styles and approaches that enriched European football. However, these victories felt like footnotes compared to what was coming. The football world was about to witness the emergence of two players whose rivalry would define an entire generation and elevate the sport to unprecedented global heights. Ronaldinho's triumph in 2005 provided a bridge between eras. The Brazilian had finally received the recognition his performances deserved, leading Barcelona to Champions League glory while producing moments of individual brilliance that left audiences speechless. His no-look passes, impossible dribbles, and infectious smile made him the embodiment of Joga Bonito, the beautiful game played with joy and creativity. At the Camp Nou, Ronaldinho was creating magic on a weekly basis. His partnership with Samuel Eto'o, Deco, and other talented players had transformed Barcelona into the most entertaining team in world football. Supporters would arrive early just to watch him warm up, knowing they might witness something special. Yet even as Ronaldinho reached his peak, a teenager named Lionel Messi was training alongside him daily, absorbing lessons that would prove invaluable in years to come. The Brazilian's influence on Messi's development cannot be overstated. He demonstrated that technical brilliance and creativity could coexist with winning mentality and professional dedication. Fabio Cannavaro's victory in 2006 represented one of the award's most surprising and controversial selections. The Italian defender had captained Italy to World Cup victory, providing the leadership and defensive solidity that proved crucial in their triumph. His performances throughout the tournament demonstrated that defenders could still influence major competitions through organization, anticipation, and tactical intelligence. However, many observers felt that other candidates, particularly Thierry Henry or other attacking players, had enjoyed superior individual seasons. Cannavaro's selection seemed to reward tournament success over sustained club performance, continuing debates about the award's criteria and voting priorities. The controversy surrounding Cannavaro's victory also highlighted growing tensions about defensive players' recognition. While his leadership and World Cup triumph were undeniable, critics argued that defenders were being held to different standards than attacking players. The rarity of defensive winners made each selection feel more surprising than it should have been. Kaká's triumph in 2007 felt more conventional, recognizing a player whose individual brilliance had driven his team to the sport's ultimate prize. His performances in AC Milan's Champions League campaign were exceptional, particularly in the semi-final against Manchester United, where his pace and technical ability proved decisive. The Brazilian's playing style was perfectly suited to the modern game. His combination of pace, technical ability, and vision allowed him to excel in multiple positions, whether playing as an attacking midfielder, supporting striker, or wide forward. His ability to score spectacular goals while creating chances for teammates made him the complete attacking player. Kaká's victory also reflected the continuing influence of the Champions League on Ballon d'Or voting. His performances in Europe's premier club competition had elevated his profile and demonstrated his ability to perform on the biggest stages. This trend would become even more pronounced in subsequent years as the Champions League's commercial and sporting significance continued growing. However, the 2007 ceremony would prove to be the last traditional selection for over a decade. Two players were already emerging who would transform the award from an annual surprise into a predictable battle between unprecedented talents. Lionel Messi's development at Barcelona had been carefully managed by coaches who recognized his exceptional gifts from an early age. His small stature had initially raised concerns about his physical readiness for professional football, but his technical ability, vision, and goal-scoring instinct quickly dispelled any doubts. Under Frank Rijkaard's guidance, Messi was gradually integrated into Barcelona's first team alongside established stars like Ronaldinho, Deco, and Samuel Eto'o. His learning curve was accelerated by training and playing alongside some of the world's best players, absorbing tactical knowledge and technical skills that would prove invaluable throughout his career. Meanwhile, Cristiano Ronaldo's transformation at Manchester United was equally remarkable. Sir Alex Ferguson had identified the young Portuguese winger's potential and systematically developed him into a complete player. His early years were marked by inconsistency and frustration, as his desire to entertain sometimes overshadowed tactical discipline. However, Ferguson's patient coaching gradually channeled Ronaldo's natural gifts into more productive directions. His crossing improved, his shooting became more clinical, and his understanding of when to attempt individual brilliance versus team play reached professional levels. The 2007-08 season marked a turning point for both players. Messi was establishing himself as Barcelona's most important player, while Ronaldo was leading Manchester United to both Premier League and Champions League glory. Their performances throughout that campaign suggested that the Ballon d'Or was about to enter a new era. Ronaldo's first victory in 2008 seemed inevitable given his performances throughout the season. He had scored 42 goals in all competitions while leading Manchester United to the Champions League title. His evolution from promising winger to complete forward was now complete, demonstrating pace, power, technical ability, and clinical finishing that made him one of the most feared attackers in world football. The victory also reflected Ronaldo's growing marketability and global appeal. His combination of exceptional talent, physical attractiveness, and media-friendly personality made him the perfect modern football superstar. Sponsors, broadcasters, and commercial partners recognized his value in reaching new audiences and expanding football's global reach. However, even as Ronaldo celebrated his first Ballon d'Or, observers were noting the emergence of serious competition from Barcelona. Messi's performances were becoming increasingly spectacular, suggesting that the Portuguese star's dominance might be short-lived. Messi's first victory in 2009 announced the arrival of arguably the greatest talent in football history. His performances throughout the season had been consistently extraordinary, combining individual brilliance with team success in ways that seemed almost supernatural. Under Pep Guardiola's guidance, Barcelona had developed a style of play that perfectly suited Messi's gifts. The tiki-taka philosophy, emphasizing possession, movement, and technical precision, provided the ideal framework for his creativity and goal-scoring ability to flourish. The 2009 victory was notable for its dominance. Messi received more than twice as many votes as his nearest competitor. This margin suggested that voters recognized they were witnessing something special, a player whose abilities transcended normal footballing categories. Messi's playing style defied conventional analysis. His dribbling ability allowed him to navigate through multiple defenders in impossibly tight spaces. His vision and passing created scoring opportunities that other players couldn't even perceive. His finishing was clinical with either foot, while his free kick technique was approaching perfection. Most remarkably, Messi combined these individual gifts with an understanding of team play that made his teammates better. His movement created space for others, his passing found teammates in advantageous positions, and his work rate provided defensive contributions that often went unnoticed by casual observers. The 2009 victory established Messi as Ronaldo's primary rival for future awards, setting up a competition that would define the next decade of football. Their contrasting styles, Messi's natural genius versus Ronaldo's developed perfection, created compelling narratives that captivated audiences worldwide. This rivalry would prove beneficial for both players and football generally. Their competition pushed each other to unprecedented levels of performance, creating standards of excellence that seemed almost impossible to maintain. Their annual battle for individual recognition became appointment viewing for millions of fans who invested emotionally in the outcomes. The commercial implications were equally significant. The Messi-Ronaldo rivalry generated unprecedented interest in the Ballon d'Or ceremony, transforming it from a niche sporting event into a global entertainment spectacle. Television audiences expanded, social media engagement exploded, and commercial revenues reached new heights. As the 2000 seconds concluded, the stage was set for the most dramatic period in Ballon d'Or history. Two players with different backgrounds, playing styles, and personalities were about to engage in a competition that would elevate football to new cultural and commercial heights while redefining what was possible for individual excellence in team sports. Drop a like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. The duopoly dominance, 2009 to 2017. The next 9 years would witness an unprecedented dominance that transformed the Ballon d'Or from an annual competition into a two-horse race. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo didn't just win every award between 2008 and 2017, they elevated their rivalry to such heights that other exceptional players seemed to exist in their shadows, waiting for scraps of recognition that would never come. This period began with Messi's second consecutive victory in 2010, a selection that felt inevitable given his performances throughout another extraordinary season. Barcelona had continued their evolution under Pep Guardiola, perfecting a style of play that seemed specifically designed to showcase Messi's unique talents. The 2009-10 season had seen Messi score 47 goals in all competitions while helping Barcelona win La Liga. His individual performances were consistently spectacular, combining the kind of dribbling ability that left defenders embarrassed with clinical finishing that made goalkeepers helpless. What made Messi's dominance particularly remarkable was his consistency. Other great players had enjoyed exceptional seasons, followed by periods of relative decline. Messi seemed to maintain impossible standards on a weekly basis, producing moments of magic that would represent career highlights for lesser players. His partnership with other Barcelona stars created one of the greatest teams in football history. Playing alongside Xavi, Andres Iniesta, and other world-class talents, Messi was part of a collective that made individual brilliance seem effortless. Their possession-based approach provided the perfect platform for his creativity to flourish. The voting margin for Messi's 2010 victory was again substantial, suggesting that his superiority over other candidates was widely recognized. Even Ronaldo, despite his obvious talents and achievements, seemed to be competing for second place during this period. However, Ronaldo's character had always been defined by his response to adversity. Rather than accepting secondary status, he used Messi's success as motivation to elevate his own game to even higher levels. His work ethic, physical conditioning, and tactical understanding all improved during this period. The 2011 season represented a continuation of Messi's dominance, with his third consecutive victory seeming almost predetermined by Christmas. His 53 goals in all competitions for Barcelona demonstrated a level of productivity that seemed almost video game-like in its consistency. This victory also highlighted the growing distance between the top two candidates and everyone else. While other players enjoyed successful seasons and produced memorable moments, they seemed to be competing in a different category compared to Messi and Ronaldo. The impact of this duopoly extended beyond individual recognition. Other exceptional players, who in previous eras might have won multiple Ballon d'Or awards, found themselves consistently finishing third or lower. Players like Andres Iniesta, Xavi, Luka Modric, and Virgil van Dijk were producing performances that would have dominated earlier decades but seemed inadequate compared to the unprecedented standards set by the top two. Messi's fourth consecutive victory in 2012 represented a level of dominance unprecedented in Ballon d'Or history. No player had previously won 4 consecutive awards, establishing him as the most successful winner in the trophy's history. The 2012 victory was particularly significant because of Messi's goal-scoring record during the calendar year. His 91 goals in all competitions broke records that had stood for decades, demonstrating a level of productivity that seemed almost inhuman. This achievement transcended football, capturing attention from mainstream media and sporting audiences who might not normally follow the beautiful game. Messi's record-breaking year became a cultural phenomenon, with his goal-scoring exploits making headlines worldwide. The statistical dominance was complemented by the quality of his performances. His goals weren't just numerous, they were spectacular, creative, and often came in crucial moments. His ability to score from impossible positions, against the world's best defenders, while making it look effortless, defied logical explanation. Ronaldo's response to this period of Messi dominance would prove defining for both his career and their rivalry. Rather than accepting defeat, he doubled down on his commitment to improvement and excellence. His move to Real Madrid in 2009 had initially seemed motivated by commercial and personal factors, but it proved tactically brilliant. At Real Madrid, Ronaldo found the perfect environment to challenge Messi's supremacy. The club's resources, ambition, and sporting infrastructure provided the platform for him to compete directly with Barcelona. The El Clasico matches between the two clubs became globally televised events that showcased their rivalry in its purest form. Ronaldo's evolution during this period was remarkable. He transformed his playing style from a traditional winger to a complete forward, developing positioning, finishing, and movement that maximized his goal-scoring potential. His physical conditioning reached levels that seemed to defy aging, allowing him to maintain peak performance into his 30s. The breakthrough came in 2013 when Ronaldo finally ended Messi's consecutive victories with his second Ballon d'Or triumph. This victory felt significant not just for its statistical merit but for its psychological impact. Ronaldo had proven that Messi's dominance wasn't inevitable, that competition could produce responses that elevated both players. The 2013 selection also reflected Real Madrid's growing success under Ronaldo's leadership. Their Champions League campaigns were becoming increasingly impressive, with Ronaldo's goals in crucial matches demonstrating his ability to perform on the biggest stages. This victory established a new dynamic in their rivalry. Rather than one player consistently dominating, the award would alternate between them based on their respective achievements and performances. This unpredictability added extra drama to their competition while maintaining global interest in their annual battle. Messi's response in 2015 proved that his previous dominance hadn't been a fluke. His fifth Ballon d'Or victory coincided with Barcelona's treble-winning season, where his performances in the Champions League knockout stages reminded everyone of his unique abilities. The 2015 triumph was particularly satisfying for Messi because it demonstrated his ability to perform when his team needed him most. His goals against Manchester City and Bayern Munich in the Champions League showcased his capacity to influence the most important matches. This victory also established Messi as the most successful player in Ballon d'Or history. His 5 awards surpassed previous records, cementing his status as arguably the greatest individual talent in football history. Ronaldo's victories in 2016 and 2017 represented the peak of his powers and the completion of his transformation into a complete player. His leadership of Portugal to European Championship victory in 2016, followed by Real Madrid's consecutive Champions League triumphs, provided the foundation for his final 2 awards. The 2016 victory was particularly meaningful because it recognized his international success with Portugal. Having previously struggled to replicate his club success with his national team, Ronaldo's leadership during Euro 2016 provided the missing piece in his legacy. His final victory in 2017 felt like a fitting conclusion to the duopoly era. Ronaldo had proven that sustained excellence, combined with crucial performances in important moments, could compete with Messi's natural genius. The period from 2008 to 2017 represented an unprecedented era in individual sporting achievement. Two players had elevated their performances to levels that seemed sustainable only through superhuman dedication and talent. Their rivalry had enriched football while establishing new standards for individual excellence. The commercial and cultural impact of their dominance extended far beyond sport. Their annual competition for the Ballon d'Or had become a global event that transcended football, attracting attention from mainstream media and entertainment industries. Most importantly, their rivalry had demonstrated that sustained excellence was possible in modern football. Rather than brief peaks followed by decline, both players had maintained impossible standards across multiple seasons, revolutionizing expectations about what was achievable for individual performers. As their duopoly concluded, the football world wondered whether anyone could match their standards or whether the Ballon d'Or would return to its previous unpredictability. The answer would come sooner than expected, but the legacy of their dominance would influence the award forever. Modern era and recent controversies. 2018 present. Luka Modric walked onto the stage in Paris on the 3rd of December 2018 to collect his Ballon d'Or with the weight of history on his shoulders. For the first time in a decade, someone other than Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo was being crowned as the world's best player. The Croatian midfielder had broken the duopoly that had seemed unbreakable, achieving something that world-class players like Neymar, Kylian Mbappe, and Robert Lewandowski had been unable to accomplish. Modric's victory represented more than just an individual achievement. It signaled a potential shift in how voters evaluated excellence, moving beyond pure statistical dominance toward a more holistic appreciation of football intelligence, leadership, and crucial contributions during important moments. The 2018 World Cup had provided the backdrop for Modric's triumph. Leading Croatia to their first World Cup final, he had demonstrated the kind of midfield mastery that often goes unnoticed by casual observers but is revered by football purists. His ability to control tempo, distribute possession, and create scoring opportunities had been fundamental to Croatia's unexpected success. At 33 years old, Modric's victory also challenged assumptions about age and peak performance. While Messi and Ronaldo had maintained exceptional standards into their 30s, many believed that older players couldn't compete with younger talents for individual recognition. Modric proved that experience, intelligence, and tactical understanding could be just as valuable as pace and physical power. The selection wasn't without controversy. Critics argued that Modric's club season with Real Madrid, while successful, hadn't been spectacular enough to merit Ballon d'Or recognition. His goal and assist statistics paled in comparison to attacking players who had enjoyed more productive campaigns. These criticisms highlighted ongoing debates about the award's criteria. Should the Ballon d'Or recognize the most statistically productive player or the most influential? How should voters balance club and international performances? Was reaching a World Cup final more impressive than scoring 50 goals in a season? Modric's victory suggested that voters were becoming more sophisticated in their evaluations, looking beyond simple statistical measures toward more nuanced assessments of player contributions. His ability to influence games through intelligence and technical skill, rather than goals and assists, represented a more mature understanding of football excellence. The Croatian success also reflected Real Madrid's continued dominance in the Champions League. His performances during their third consecutive European triumph had demonstrated his ability to excel in the world's most prestigious club competition. His experience and composure in crucial moments had proven invaluable to the Spanish club's success. However, even as Modric celebrated his recognition, the football world knew that his victory might represent an anomaly rather than a new trend. Messi and Ronaldo, despite being in their early 30s, showed no signs of declining. Their statistical production remained extraordinary, while their influence on their respective teams continued to be decisive. The emergence of new talents like Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, and Vinicius Jr. added another dimension to future Ballon d'Or competitions. These younger players combined the pace and athleticism of modern football with technical abilities that rivaled established stars. Their potential to challenge the old guard created excitement about the award's future direction. Messi's sixth victory in 2019 felt like a return to normalcy after the surprise of Modric's triumph. The Argentine had enjoyed another exceptional season with Barcelona, scoring 51 goals in all competitions, while demonstrating the consistency that had defined his career. This victory also marked a significant milestone in Ballon d'Or history. Messi's sixth award extended his record as the most successful winner, establishing a gap that might never be closed. His longevity at the highest level had become as impressive as his peak performances. The 2019 selection generated less controversy than many previous years, with most observers agreeing that Messi's performances merited recognition. His combination of individual brilliance and team success provided a compelling case that satisfied traditional voting criteria. However, the victory also highlighted concerns about the award's predictability. Despite Modric's 2018 triumph, the competition seemed to be reverting to its previous pattern of alternating between Messi and Ronaldo. Other exceptional players continued to finish as distant runners-up, despite producing memorable seasons. The 2020 ceremony's cancellation due to the COVID-19 pandemic created an unprecedented interruption in Ballon d'Or history. For the first time since 1956, no winner was crowned, leaving a gap that sparked debates about who would have deserved recognition during that exceptional year. Robert Lewandowski's absence from the winners list became a particular source of controversy. The Polish striker had enjoyed one of the greatest individual seasons in football history, scoring 55 goals in all competitions while leading Bayern Munich to a treble. His statistical dominance seemed undeniable, making the ceremony's cancellation feel particularly cruel for his legacy. Lewandowski's case highlighted broader questions about the award's timing and criteria. His 2020 performances were exceptional by any standard, combining incredible productivity with crucial contributions during important matches. The inability to recognize such excellence due to external circumstances felt unsatisfying for football fans and historians. The pandemic's impact on football also raised questions about how voters should evaluate performances during unusual circumstances. Playing in empty stadiums, with compressed schedules and unique pressures, had created conditions unlike anything in the sport's history. Should these factors influence voting decisions? Messi's seventh victory in 2021 generated significant controversy, with many observers believing that other candidates deserved recognition. While his Copa America triumph with Argentina had been emotionally satisfying, critics argued that his overall season hadn't reached previous standards. The debate surrounding Messi's 2021 victory reflected deeper tensions about voting criteria and geographical representation. His international success with Argentina was undeniable, ending a trophy drought that had defined much of his career. However, his club performances with Paris Saint-Germain had been inconsistent following his surprising departure from Barcelona. Robert Lewandowski's supporters felt particularly aggrieved, arguing that the Polish striker's consistent excellence across multiple seasons deserved recognition. His goal-scoring records and crucial contributions to Bayern Munich's success had established him as one of the world's premier players. The controversy also highlighted the award's European bias. Despite expansion to include players of all nationalities, voting patterns suggested that European-based performances carried extra weight compared to achievements in other regions. Karim Benzema's victory in 2022 felt like vindication for one of football's most underrated players. The French striker had finally received recognition for performances that had been exceptional for years, but overshadowed by his more celebrated teammates at Real Madrid. Benzema's triumph came during a season where his leadership and goal-scoring ability had been fundamental to Real Madrid's Champions League victory. His performances in knockout matches against Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, and Manchester City demonstrated the kind of big-game mentality that voters traditionally valued. The victory also reflected changing attitudes toward age and longevity. At 34, Benzema proved that older players could still compete for individual recognition, provided their performances remained at elite levels. His technical ability and understanding of the game had actually improved with age, making him a more complete player than during his younger years. However, Benzema's selection also generated debates about consistency versus peak performance. While his 2022 season had been exceptional, critics argued that other players had maintained higher standards across longer periods. Messi's eighth victory in 2023 created new records while sparking familiar controversies. His leadership of Argentina to World Cup victory provided the emotional narrative that often influences Ballon d'Or voting, but questions remained about his overall performances during the year. The victory extended Messi's record as the most successful Ballon d'Or winner, establishing a gap that seems insurmountable for future players. His 8 awards represent sustained excellence across nearly 2 decades, a longevity that defies normal sporting expectations. However, the selection also highlighted concerns about the awards' criteria and voting processes. Erling Haaland's incredible debut season with Manchester City, where he scored 52 goals in all competitions while helping his club achieve a treble, seemed to merit recognition based on traditional statistical measures. The debate reflected broader questions about how voters should balance different types of achievement. Should World Cup success automatically elevate players above those who enjoyed superior club seasons? How should voters compare goal-scoring statistics against leadership and emotional contributions? These recent controversies have exposed fundamental issues with the Ballon d'Or's structure and criteria. The award's prestige and global significance have created enormous pressures on voting processes, while social media and modern fan culture have intensified debates about every selection. The commercial interests surrounding modern football have also influenced discussions about the award. Players' marketability, social media presence, and commercial partnerships create additional factors that may consciously or unconsciously affect voting decisions. Looking ahead, the Ballon d'Or faces several challenges in maintaining its relevance and credibility. The emergence of new talents, changing football demographics, and evolving media landscapes will require adaptations to voting processes and criteria. The award's future may depend on its ability to balance tradition with innovation, maintaining the prestige that has defined its history while adapting to modern football's realities. The debate surrounding recent winners suggests that fans and media expect greater transparency and consistency in voting processes. Most importantly, the Ballon d'Or must continue recognizing exceptional talent while avoiding the controversies that can undermine its credibility. The award's legacy depends on its ability to identify and celebrate the players who define their generations, regardless of external pressures or commercial considerations. As football continues evolving, the Ballon d'Or will face new challenges in maintaining its status as the sport's premier individual award. The standards set by previous winners, particularly during the Messi-Ronaldo era, have created expectations that may be impossible to match. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this story. The greatest controversies and snubs. The Ballon d'Or's 67-year history reads like a catalog of football's greatest debates. For every celebrated winner, there's an equally compelling case for someone who is overlooked. These controversies have become part of the award's folklore, sparking arguments that continue decades after the votes were counted. Perhaps no omission generates more debate than Pelé's complete absence from the winners list during his prime years. The Brazilian genius was ineligible until 1995 due to the award's European-only restriction, meaning his extraordinary performances during the 1,960 seconds and early 1,970 seconds went unrecognized by football's most prestigious individual honor. Pelé's case highlights the arbitrary nature of early Ballon d'Or criteria. While European players competed for recognition, arguably the greatest player in football history was systematically excluded. His 3 World Cup victories, including transcendent performances in 1958 and 1970, would have provided compelling cases for multiple awards under modern eligibility rules. The Brazilian's influence extended far beyond statistics. His combination of technical brilliance, athletic ability, and goal-scoring prowess redefined what was possible for attacking players. His performances at the 1970 World Cup, in particular, showcased football played at a level that seemed almost artistic in its perfection. When the award finally opened to all nationalities in 1995, Pelé was already past his prime and playing in less competitive leagues. The timing meant that football's greatest talent never received recognition during his peak years, creating a gap in the award's history that can never be filled. Diego Maradona's absence from the winners list represents another glaring omission that exposes the award's limitations. Like Pelé, Maradona was ineligible during much of his peak due to nationality restrictions. When he finally became eligible, his career was already declining due to personal problems and injuries. Maradona's case is particularly frustrating because his peak years, especially around the 1986 World Cup, showcased individual brilliance that surpassed most Ballon d'Or winners. His performances during that tournament, culminating in Argentina's victory, demonstrated the kind of single-handed dominance that occurs perhaps once in a generation. The Argentines' combination of technical skill, creativity, and sheer force of will allowed him to elevate average teammates to World Cup glory. His ability to perform in crucial moments, against the world's best defenders, and in the most pressurized situations, established him as one of football's ultimate big-game players. Even after becoming eligible, Maradona's problems with consistency and professionalism may have influenced voters' decisions. His off-field controversies and declining physical condition made him a less attractive candidate compared to more reliable professionals like Roberto Baggio and other contemporary stars. Roberto Baggio's failure to win multiple Ballon d'Or awards represents a more subtle form of injustice. The Italian playmaker's 1993 victory recognized his exceptional talent, but his subsequent years of sustained excellence went largely unrewarded by voters who seemed to favor other candidates. Baggio's combination of technical brilliance, creativity, and goal-scoring ability made him one of the most complete attacking players of his generation. His performances for Juventus, AC Milan, and the Italian national team consistently reached levels that, in other eras, might have earned multiple awards. The 1994 World Cup final penalty miss seemed to cast a shadow over Baggio's legacy that persisted for years. Despite leading Italy to the final, almost single-handedly, the image of his dejected figure after the penalty sailed over the crossbar became a defining moment that may have influenced future voting decisions. Francesco Totti's complete absence from Ballon d'Or victories represents one of modern football's most surprising omissions. The Roma legend spent his entire career demonstrating the kind of technical brilliance and creative vision that voters traditionally celebrate, yet never received the individual recognition his performances merited. Totti's loyalty to Roma may have worked against him in Ballon d'Or voting. Playing for a club that, while successful domestically, rarely competed for the biggest European prizes, meant his exceptional individual performances often went unnoticed by voters focused on Champions League success. His longevity was remarkable, maintaining world-class standards from the late 1990 seconds through the 2010 seconds. His technical ability, particularly his first touch and passing range, remained exceptional even as he aged, proving that intelligence and skill could overcome declining physical attributes. The 2006 World Cup victory with Italy showcased Totti's ability to perform on the biggest stage, but injuries limited his involvement in the tournament. His absence from key matches may have cost him crucial exposure that could have influenced Ballon d'Or voting that year. Thierry Henry's failure to win the Ballon d'Or during his Arsenal peak remains one of the award's most debated omissions. The French striker's combination of pace, technical ability, and clinical finishing made him arguably the most complete forward of his generation. Yet he never received the individual recognition his performances deserved. Henry's Arsenal years, particularly from 2001 to 2006, showcased sustained excellence that few players have matched. His goal-scoring records, combined with his ability to create chances for teammates, made him the focal point of one of the Premier League's greatest teams. The 2003 and 2004 seasons were particularly exceptional. Henry's performances during Arsenal's unbeaten league campaign demonstrated consistency and quality that seemed worthy of Ballon d'Or recognition. His ability to score spectacular goals while contributing defensively and creatively marked him as a complete footballer. However, Henry's international disappointments may have influenced voting decisions. France's early exit from the 2002 World Cup and their failure to reach the 2004 European Championship final meant that Henry's club excellence wasn't complemented by national team success during his peak years. The Premier League's global reach during Henry's peak should have worked in his favor, making his performances visible to voters worldwide, yet somehow other candidates consistently received recognition despite Henry's obvious superiority in many seasons. Andrés Iniesta's failure to win a Ballon d'Or represents perhaps the most glaring omission of the modern era. The Spanish midfielder's technical ability, vision, and performance in crucial moments established him as one of the greatest players of his generation, yet he never received individual recognition from the award's voters. Iniesta's case is particularly frustrating because his peak years coincided with Spain's golden generation. His performances during Spain's 2010 World Cup triumph, including the winning goal in the final, demonstrated his ability to excel on the biggest stages when his country needed him most. At Barcelona, Iniesta formed part of arguably the greatest midfield trio in football history, alongside Xavi and Sergio Busquets. His ability to retain possession under pressure, create scoring opportunities through intelligent passing, and provide crucial goals in important matches made him indispensable to the club's success. The 2010 season seemed tailor-made for Iniesta's Ballon d'Or triumph. His World Cup winning goal, combined with Barcelona's continued domestic success, provided the perfect narrative for individual recognition. Yet voters chose other candidates, suggesting that attacking players maintained significant advantages in their considerations. Iniesta's playing style may have worked against him in Ballon d'Or voting. His contributions were often subtle, involving intelligent movement, precise passing, and tactical understanding rather than spectacular goals or assists. These qualities, while crucial to team success, may have been less appreciated by voters focused on statistical productivity. Xavi's absence from Ballon d'Or victories represents another puzzling omission from Barcelona's golden era. The Spanish midfielder's ability to control games through possession and passing made him the architect of both Barcelona's and Spain's success during their respective dominant periods. Xavi's influence on modern football tactics cannot be overstated. His interpretation of the holding midfielder role, combined with his technical perfection and tactical intelligence, influenced an entire generation of players and coaches. His ability to find teammates in advantageous positions while maintaining possession under pressure was unmatched. The 2008 to 2012 period should have provided multiple opportunities for Xavi's recognition. His performances during Spain's European Championship and World Cup victories demonstrated his ability to control the world's biggest matches. His club success with Barcelona during their most successful era provided additional evidence of his exceptional abilities. Yet Xavi consistently finished outside the top three in Ballon d'Or voting, suggesting that voters struggled to appreciate the value of his contributions. His lack of goal-scoring statistics may have disadvantaged him compared to more prolific attackers, despite his fundamental importance to his team's success. Robert Lewandowski's ongoing absence from Ballon d'Or victories represents one of the most controversial omissions in recent years. The Polish striker's goal-scoring consistency and crucial contributions during important matches have established him as one of the world's premier players, yet he has never received individual recognition. Lewandowski's statistical achievements are remarkable by any standard. His goal-scoring records for both Bayern Munich and Poland demonstrate sustained excellence across multiple seasons and competitions. His ability to score crucial goals in Champions League knockout matches particularly stands out. The 2020 season represented Lewandowski's strongest case for Ballon d'Or recognition. His 55 goals in all competitions, combined with Bayern Munich's treble victory, seemed to provide an unanswerable argument for his selection. The ceremony's cancellation due to COVID-19 denied him the recognition many believed he deserved. Subsequent years have seen Lewandowski continue his exceptional form, yet other candidates have consistently received recognition. His age may be working against him, as voters sometimes prefer younger players when performances are relatively comparable. The geographical distribution of Ballon d'Or winners reveals interesting patterns and potential biases. Despite the award's global expansion in 1995, European and South American players have continued to dominate, with African and Asian players rarely receiving serious consideration. George Weah's 1,995 victory remains the only triumph for an African-born player, despite the continent's continued production of exceptional talents. Players like Samuel Eto'o, Didier Drogba, and Sadio Mane have enjoyed successful careers at Europe's biggest clubs but never seriously challenged for individual recognition. Asian players have faced even greater challenges in Ballon d'Or voting. Despite the continent's growing football infrastructure and the emergence of talented players, no Asian-born player has come close to winning the award. This absence suggests that geographical and cultural biases may still influence voting decisions. The award's European origins and the concentration of top-level football in European leagues may naturally favor players based on the continent. However, the consistent underrepresentation of other regions raises questions about whether the voting process adequately recognizes global talent. Women's football has faced its own recognition challenges, with the Ballon d'Or Feminine only being introduced in 2018. This late acknowledgement of women's football excellence meant that legendary players like Mia Hamm, Marta, and Birgit Prinz never received recognition during their peak years. The Women's Award has helped address this historical oversight, but questions remain about parity in coverage and recognition. The ceremony timing and media attention devoted to women's awards often pale in comparison to their male counterparts, suggesting that true equality remains elusive. Goalkeepers have faced particular challenges in Ballon d'Or voting, with only Lev Yashin managing to win the award in its entire history. Despite exceptional talents like Gianluigi Buffon, Manuel Neuer, and Thibaut Courtois producing legendary careers, voters have consistently favored outfield players. The positional bias against goalkeepers reflects broader challenges in evaluating defensive contributions. While statistics like goals and assists provide clear measures for attacking players, goalkeeper excellence often involves preventing events rather than creating them, making evaluation more subjective. Defenders face similar challenges, with only a handful of players in the award's history receiving recognition. Players like Paolo Maldini, Virgil van Dijk, and Sergio Ramos have demonstrated that exceptional defenders can influence matches as dramatically as any attacker, yet their chances of Ballon d'Or recognition remain limited. These patterns suggest that the Ballon d'Or reflects broader biases in how football excellence is perceived and valued. The emphasis on goals, assists, and attacking flair may accurately reflect fan preferences and commercial considerations, but it potentially undervalues other crucial contributions to team success. The controversy surrounding recent winners has intensified debates about voting criteria and processes. Social media has amplified fan opinions and created new pressures on voters, while the award's commercial significance has increased scrutiny of every decision. Looking forward, these historical controversies and omissions provide lessons for the award's future evolution. Greater transparency in voting processes, clearer criteria definitions, and more sophisticated evaluation methods might help address some of the inconsistencies that have marked the award's history. The Ballon d'Or's legacy will ultimately be judged not just by its winners, but by its ability to fairly recognize the full spectrum of football excellence. The greatest controversies serve as reminders that individual awards in team sports will always involve subjective judgments that can't satisfy everyone. However, these debates also demonstrate the award's cultural significance. The passion with which fans argue about omissions and controversial selections reflects the Ballon d'Or's role in defining football history and establishing player legacies. In this sense, even the controversies contribute to the award's enduring appeal and importance. Make sure to subscribe and like before we continue the story. Cultural impact and legacy. The Ballon d'Or has transcended its origins as a simple sporting award to become a cultural phenomenon that shapes how we understand football excellence, celebrity, and individual achievement in team sports. Its golden sphere has become as recognizable as any trophy in world sport, carrying symbolic weight that extends far beyond the football pitch. When Gabriel Hanot and his colleagues at France Football first conceived the award in 1956, they could hardly have imagined its eventual cultural significance. What began as a modest recognition of European football talent would evolve into a global event that captures the attention of millions, influences commercial markets, and shapes the career trajectories of the world's greatest players. The award's impact on player motivation and career development cannot be overstated. For modern footballers, winning the Ballon d'Or represents the ultimate individual achievement, often more coveted than team trophies, despite football's fundamentally collective nature. This pursuit of individual recognition has influenced how players approach their careers, from club selection to playing style adaptations. Young players worldwide now dream not just of playing for their favorite clubs or national teams, but of one day lifting the golden ball. Youth academies have incorporated Ballon d'Or discussions into their educational programs, using past winners as examples of excellence and dedication that aspiring players should emulate. The commercial implications of Ballon d'Or recognition are enormous. Winners see immediate increases in endorsement value, social media following, and commercial opportunities. Brands compete to associate themselves with Ballon d'Or winners, understanding that the award carries cultural cachet that transcends sport. Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo's duopoly coincided with the explosion of social media and global football marketing. Their annual competition for the award became appointment viewing for hundreds of millions of fans, while their commercial rivalry extended the competition beyond the football pitch into advertising campaigns, product endorsements, and lifestyle branding. The ceremony itself has evolved from a modest gathering of football journalists into a glittering gala that rivals entertainment industry award shows. The red carpet arrivals, celebrity presentations, and globally televised coverage demonstrate how the event has embraced its role as entertainment spectacle as much as sporting recognition. This transformation reflects broader changes in sports media and celebrity culture. Modern football stars are expected to be performers both on and off the pitch, with their personalities and lifestyle choices becoming part of their professional brands. The Ballon d'Or ceremony provides the perfect stage for this kind of celebrity presentation. The award's influence on football tactics and playing styles has been subtle but significant. The emphasis on individual statistics in voting decisions has encouraged tactical systems that maximize star players' statistical output. Teams increasingly build their approaches around potential Ballon d'Or candidates, creating tactical frameworks designed to showcase individual brilliance. This trend has contributed to the evolution of modern football toward more attacking, entertainment-focused approaches. While defensive solidity and tactical discipline remain important, the commercial and cultural pressures associated with star players have pushed the game toward more spectacular, goal-heavy styles. The Ballon d'Or has also influenced how football history is written and remembered. Winners become automatic inclusion in discussions of greatness, while exceptional players who never won the award sometimes find their legacies questioned despite obvious talent and achievement. This historical significance has created additional pressure around each year's selection. Voters are increasingly aware that their decisions will be scrutinized by future generations of football fans and historians. The weight of establishing lasting legacies adds gravity to what might otherwise be considered routine sporting recognition. The award's role in establishing national football pride cannot be overlooked. Countries celebrate Ballon d'Or winners as national heroes, with victories often prompting government recognition and public celebrations. The soft power implications of producing Ballon d'Or winners have made the award part of national sporting strategies. France football's decision to expand eligibility to players of all nationalities in 1995 had profound cultural implications. The inclusion of players from Africa, Asia, and other previously excluded regions made the award truly global, while creating new opportunities for representation and recognition. George Weah's victory as the first African-born winner carried significance that extended far beyond individual achievement. His triumph provided inspiration for an entire continent while demonstrating that excellence could emerge from anywhere in the world. The cultural impact of his victory continues to influence African football development and player aspirations. The award has also influenced gender discussions within football culture. The late introduction of the Ballon d'Or Feminine in 2018 highlighted the historical neglect of women's football excellence while creating new opportunities for recognition and role modeling. Female players like Ada Hegerberg, Megan Rapinoe, and Alexia Putellas have used their Ballon d'Or victories to advocate for gender equality in sport while inspiring young girls to pursue football careers. Their success has contributed to broader cultural conversations about representation and opportunity in professional sports. Social media has amplified the Ballon d'Or's cultural reach exponentially. Announcement nights generate millions of posts, memes, and discussions across platforms, creating global conversations that extend far beyond traditional football audiences. The award has become a trending topic that captures attention from mainstream media and entertainment industries. Fan voting campaigns and online advocacy have become part of the award's cultural ecosystem. Supporters of different players create elaborate social media campaigns, statistical analyses, and promotional content designed to influence public opinion, if not actual voting outcomes. These grassroots movements demonstrate the emotional investment that fans have in their favorite players' recognition. The democratization of football analysis through social media has also changed how the award is discussed and evaluated. Traditional media gatekeepers no longer control narrative formation, with individual fans and content creators able to reach massive audiences with their opinions and arguments about Ballon d'Or selections. This shift has created more diverse perspectives in award discussions, while also increasing the volume and intensity of debates. The echo chamber effects of social media can amplify particular viewpoints while marginalizing others, potentially influencing how different players and achievements are perceived culturally. The Ballon d'Or's influence on football, video games, and popular culture has been substantial. FIFA and other major gaming franchises use Ballon d'Or status as a key rating criterion, influencing how millions of young gamers perceive player value and excellence. Virtual recreation of the award ceremony has become a standard feature in career modes. These digital representations have extended the award's cultural reach into new demographics and geographic regions. Young people who might not follow professional football closely still encounter Ballon d'Or winners through gaming, creating familiarity with the award and its significance. The ceremony's fashion and style elements have created another dimension of cultural influence. Players' outfit choices, hairstyles, and accessory selections during the ceremony are scrutinized by fashion media and influence style trends among fans. The event has become a showcase for luxury brands and personal styling as much as sporting achievement. This intersection of sport and fashion reflects broader cultural trends toward athlete, celebrity, and lifestyle branding. The Ballon d'Or provides a platform for players to express their personalities and commercial partnerships in ways that extend their influence beyond football. Educational institutions have incorporated Ballon d'Or discussions into curriculum, ranging from sports science to business studies to cultural analysis. The award serves as a case study for topics including statistical analysis, marketing strategy, cultural impact, and individual versus team achievement in various academic contexts. The psychological impact of Ballon d'Or pursuit on players has become a subject of academic study and sports psychology research. The pressure to achieve individual recognition while maintaining team focus creates unique mental challenges that influence how modern players approach their careers and relationships with teammates. Some players have spoken about the burden that Ballon d'Or expectations place on their enjoyment of football. The constant evaluation and comparison can detract from the simple pleasure of playing, while the disappointment of not winning can overshadow exceptional seasons and achievements. Conversely, winners often describe the award as validation for years of dedication and sacrifice. The recognition provides closure and satisfaction that transcends monetary rewards or team success, representing peer acknowledgement of their place among football's greatest talents. The Ballon d'Or's legacy extends into philosophical discussions about individual achievement in team sports. The award raises questions about how societies value individual excellence versus collective success, and whether it's possible to fairly evaluate individual contributions within team contexts. These debates reflect broader cultural tensions between individualism and collectivism that exist in many societies. The award's emphasis on personal achievement can be seen as celebrating human potential and inspiring excellence, or as undermining team unity and collective values. As football continues globalizing and evolving, the Ballon d'Or's cultural significance is likely to grow rather than diminish. New markets, technologies, and media platforms will create additional opportunities for the award to influence culture while facing new challenges in maintaining relevance and credibility. The next generation of football stars will inherit a cultural landscape where Ballon d'Or success is expected and commercially essential. Their approach to pursuing the award, combined with changing fan expectations and media coverage, will determine how the cultural impact continues evolving. The award's ability to adapt to changing cultural contexts while maintaining its core significance will ultimately determine its lasting legacy. The balance between tradition and innovation, exclusivity and accessibility, sporting merit and entertainment value will shape how future generations understand and value this unique cultural institution. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Statistical analysis and trends. Numbers tell stories that words sometimes cannot capture, and the Ballon d'Or's 67-year history provides a rich data set that reveals fascinating patterns about football excellence, geographical representation, and the evolution of the beautiful game itself. When we examine the statistics behind the Golden Ball, clear trends emerge that illuminate both the award's consistency and its remarkable adaptability to changing football landscapes. The most obvious pattern in Ballon d'Or history is the dominance of attacking players. Of the 67 awards distributed through 2023, forwards and attacking midfielders have claimed approximately 80% of victories. This overwhelming bias toward goal scorers and creators reflects both voting preferences and the inherent visibility of attacking contributions. Only 3 defenders have ever won the award: Franz Beckenbauer, 1972, 1976, Matthias Sammer, 1996, and Fabio Cannavaro, 2006. This represents just 4.5% of all victories, despite defenders comprising roughly 40% of outfield players in any team. The statistical underrepresentation is even more stark when considering that no traditional center back or fullback has ever won outside of these libero-style players who contributed significantly to attacking play. Goalkeepers face even greater statistical challenges, with Lev Yashin's 1,963 victory representing the sole recognition for players in that position. This means that goalkeepers, who comprise approximately 10% of any squad, have received just 1.5% of Ballon d'Or recognition over nearly 7 decades. The geographical distribution of winners reveals the award's evolution from European exclusivity to global representation. Prior to 1995, when eligibility expanded beyond European players, the winners came from just 13 different countries. The subsequent period has seen players from 23 different nations claim victory, though European and South American players continue to dominate. Brazil leads all nations with 8 Ballon d'Or winners, though this number would likely be much higher if players like Pelé, Garrincha, and others had been eligible during their prime years. Argentina follows with 7 winners, while France, Germany, and Portugal have each produced 5 winners. The age analysis of Ballon d'Or winners provides insights into when players typically reach their peak performance levels. The average age of winners is 26.8 years, with the distribution showing clear patterns around peak performance windows. The youngest winner remains Ronaldo at 20 years and 63 days in 1996, while the oldest is Stanley Matthews at 41 years and 166 days in 1956. However, these extreme cases reflect unusual circumstances rather than typical patterns. Modern winners tend to cluster between ages 23 and 30, with very few victories outside this range. Lionel Messi's 8 victories represent an unprecedented level of individual dominance that may never be matched. His first victory at age 22 and most recent at age 36 demonstrate remarkable longevity that defies normal athletic aging curves. The statistical probability of any player matching this achievement seems astronomically low given the competitive landscape of modern football. Cristiano Ronaldo's 5 victories, combined with his consistent top 3 finishes across multiple decades, represent sustained excellence that complements Messi's peak dominance. Together, their 13 victories between 2008 and 2023 created a duopoly that statistically dominated the award more completely than any previous era. The club representation analysis reveals interesting patterns about institutional success and individual recognition. Real Madrid leads all clubs with 12 Ballon d'Or winners, followed by Barcelona with 11. This near parity reflects the Clásico rivalry's influence on individual excellence, with both clubs providing platforms for exceptional talents to flourish. AC Milan's 8 winners reflect the club's golden eras during the 1,980 seconds, -1,990 seconds, and 2,000 seconds, while Bayern Munich's 5 winners demonstrate consistent excellence across multiple generations. The distribution suggests that playing for elite clubs significantly improves Ballon d'Or prospects, though exceptional talents at smaller clubs can still achieve recognition. The correlation between Champions League success and Ballon d'Or victories is remarkably strong. Approximately 75% of winners since 1956 have either won the European Cup divided by Champions League in their victory year or reached the final. This statistic reinforces the tournament's importance in voter considerations and highlights the premium placed on elite-level club success. World Cup years show even stronger correlations, with tournament performance heavily influencing voting outcomes. Since 1958, when the World Cup became a global television event, approximately 60% of Ballon d'Or winners in World Cup years were also key contributors to their national teams' campaigns, regardless of ultimate success. The statistical analysis of goals and assists among winners reveals evolving expectations for productivity. Early winners often had modest statistical output by modern standards, reflecting different tactical approaches and record-keeping methods. However, contemporary winners typically produce exceptional numbers across multiple statistical categories. Messi's statistical dominance during his peak years was unprecedented. His 91 goals in 2012 broke records that had stood for decades, while his consistent production of 40-plus goals per season across multiple years established new standards for individual productivity. The assist statistics show how creative players have gained greater recognition over time. Earlier, Ballon d'Or selections rarely emphasized playmaking statistics, but modern winners are increasingly evaluated on their ability to create scoring opportunities for teammates alongside their own goal production. Position-specific analysis reveals how tactical evolution has influenced Ballon d'Or selections. The decline of traditional wingers and inside forwards has been reflected in winner profiles, with modern wide players expected to contribute both defensively and in advanced attacking positions. The emergence of false nines, inverted wingers, and hybrid positions has created new categories of excellence that voters have had to evaluate. Players like Messi and Ronaldo have redefined positional expectations, making traditional statistical comparisons more complex. Team success correlation remains one of the strongest predictors of Ballon d'Or victory. Players from teams that win major domestic leagues or international tournaments have approximately 85% representation among winners, suggesting that individual brilliance must be accompanied by collective achievement. However, exceptions like Michael Owen 2001 and Kaká 2007 demonstrate that exceptional individual seasons can overcome modest team success. These outliers typically involve extraordinary statistical production combined with memorable individual performances in high-profile matches. The voting margin analysis shows how competitive the award has become over time. Early winners often claimed victory with relatively modest point totals, while modern selections frequently require overwhelming statistical and performance evidence to separate top candidates. Messi's 2009 victory, where he received more than twice as many points as his nearest competitor, represents one of the most dominant margins in award history. This overwhelming support reflected widespread recognition of exceptional talent that transcended normal competitive categories. Conversely, several recent selections have been decided by narrow margins, suggesting increased parity among elite players and the difficulty of distinguishing between exceptional candidates. These close decisions often generate the most controversy and debate among football fans and media. The international tournament impact statistics reveal cyclical patterns in Ballon d'Or voting. World Cup years consistently produce different winner profiles compared to non-tournament years, with international success often elevating players above those with superior club seasons. European Championship and Copa America performances show similar but less pronounced effects. Continental tournament success provides additional credibility for Ballon d'Or candidates, though the impact varies depending on the tournament's timing and competitive quality. League distribution among winners reflects the changing hierarchy of European football. La Liga has produced the most Ballon d'Or winners in recent decades, largely due to Barcelona and Real Madrid's success. The Premier League's emergence as a global brand has increased English football's representation, while Serie A's decline has reduced Italian clubs' success in producing winners. The Bundesliga and Ligue 1 have produced fewer winners, though exceptional talents like Karim Benzema and Robert Lewandowski have achieved recognition despite playing in less globally prominent leagues during certain periods. Age-related performance analysis shows how winner profiles have evolved with improved fitness, nutrition, and medical care. Modern players maintain peak performance levels longer than previous generations, with several recent winners achieving recognition in their early 30s. The statistical trends suggest that future Ballon d'Or winners will likely continue combining exceptional productivity with sustained excellence across multiple seasons. The increasing competitiveness of elite football makes single-season breakthroughs less likely to earn recognition without accompanying team success. These statistical patterns provide a framework for understanding Ballon d'Or selections while highlighting the award's evolution alongside football's broader development. The numbers tell a story of changing expectations, geographic expansion, and the eternal tension between individual excellence and team achievement that defines the beautiful game. Performance analysis, goals, assists, and defining moments. The numbers behind Ballon d'Or victories tell stories that statistics alone cannot capture, but they provide fascinating insights into what separates winners from the merely exceptional. When we examine the goals, assists, and defining performances that secured these golden balls, patterns emerge that reveal not just individual brilliance, but the evolution of football itself. Lionel Messi's statistical dominance becomes even more remarkable when broken down season by season. His 2012 record-breaking year didn't just produce 91 goals, it showcased incredible variety and consistency that defied mathematical probability. In La Liga alone, he scored 50 goals in 37 appearances, averaging 1.35 goals per game across an entire season. His Champions League tally of 14 goals included hat-tricks against Bate Borisov and a crucial brace against AC Milan that demonstrated his capacity to excel against elite opposition. But the goals themselves were works of art. The chip over Real Betis goalkeeper Casto from an impossible angle, the solo run against Athletic Bilbao where he beat 4 defenders before finishing with his weaker right foot, the curled effort from 25 yards against Real Madrid that flew past Iker Casillas like a guided missile. Each goal represented a different aspect of his complete repertoire, while showcasing technical mastery that seemed to improve with each passing month. His assist numbers during this period were equally impressive, with 22 assists in all competitions, demonstrating that his individual goal-scoring success didn't come at the expense of team play. His ability to create scoring opportunities for teammates while maintaining personal productivity established new standards for complete attacking play. The 2010-11 season that earned Messi his 3rd consecutive Ballon d'Or featured 53 goals and 24 assists across all competitions, numbers that would represent career years for most players. His performance against Arsenal in the Champions League showcased every aspect of his genius. Marfer, 4 goals across 2 legs, at the Emirates, where he collected the ball near the halfway line and glided past 3 defenders before finishing with characteristic precision. His El Clasico performances during this period were particularly memorable. The 5-0 victory over Real Madrid in November 2010 featured a Messi masterclass that included 2 goals and an assist, with his second goal, delicate chip over Casillas after a perfectly weighted through ball, representing football played at its highest artistic level. Cristiano Ronaldo's statistical evolution tells the story of systematic improvement and tactical adaptation that transformed him from a promising winger into the most complete goal-scoring machine in football history. His 2008 Ballon d'Or winning season featured 42 goals in 49 appearances for Manchester United, but more impressive was the variety of his contributions across different competitions and contexts. In the Premier League, he scored 31 goals from 34 appearances, demonstrating consistency that few players have matched across a full domestic campaign. His Champions League performances were equally crucial, with 8 goals in 11 appearances, including decisive strikes against Roma and Barcelona that established his reputation as a big-game player. The goal against Portsmouth that secured Manchester United's Premier League title exemplified Ronaldo's evolution during this period. A 30-yard free kick that flew past David James with such power and precision that the goalkeeper barely moved. It demonstrated technical mastery, combined with mental strength under championship-deciding pressure. His aerial ability was becoming increasingly prominent during this period, with his goal against Chelsea in the Champions League final penalty shootout preparation showcasing the heading power and timing that would define his later career. Standing 6'2" with extraordinary jumping ability, he was transforming into an aerial threat that complemented his pace and technical skills. The 2016-17 season that earned Ronaldo his 5th Ballon d'Or represented the complete striker at his absolute peak. His 42 goals in 46 appearances for Real Madrid included crucial strikes in every major competition, but his Champions League performances were particularly exceptional. 12 goals in 13 Champions League appearances, with 5 goals across 2 legs against Bayern Munich in the quarter-final, demonstrated his capacity to excel when stakes were highest. The hat-trick against Atletico Madrid in the semi-final first leg remains one of the greatest individual Champions League performances, with 3 different types of goals: a header, a close-range finish, and a perfectly placed free kick, showcasing his complete attacking repertoire in a single match. Pele's statistical achievements, though achieved outside Ballon d'Or eligibility, provide context for understanding what the award missed during its European-only period. His 1,970 World Cup performances in Mexico featured 4 goals and numerous assists while leading Brazil to their greatest ever tournament triumph, but the individual displays transcended statistical measures. The assist for Carlos Alberto's goal in the final against Italy represented football artistry at its purest form. Receiving the ball under pressure near the penalty area, Pelé's casual layoff with the outside of his right foot created the perfect angle for his teammate's thunderous finish. The moment captured everything exceptional about his game: vision, technique, composure, and selflessness combined in a single touch. His club statistics for Santos during the 1,960 seconds were equally remarkable, with over 1,000 career goals achieved through consistent excellence across multiple competitions and contexts. His 95 goals in 1965 represented productivity that seemed almost impossible, yet was achieved while maintaining the technical brilliance and creative flair that made him beloved worldwide. Diego Maradona's 1,986 World Cup performances provide perhaps the greatest example of individual tournament dominance that was never formally recognized by the Ballon d'Or due to eligibility restrictions. His 5 goals and 5 assists across 7 matches tell only part of the story of how he single-handedly carried Argentina to World Cup glory. The quarter-final against England featured 2 goals that perfectly encapsulated Maradona's complex genius. The controversial Hand of God goal demonstrated his win-at-all-costs mentality and tactical intelligence, while the second goal, a solo run from his own half that beat 6 English players, showcased pure technical brilliance that remains unmatched in World Cup history. His second goal began with him collecting the ball in his own half under pressure from English defenders. The subsequent 60-yard run involved 11 touches, 6 changes of direction, and the beating of goalkeeper Peter Shilton with a clinical finish that completed one of football's most spectacular individual goals. The statistical breakdown of this goal reveals its technical complexity: 4 separate defender-beating movements, 3 changes of pace, and 2 feints that left defenders completely wrong-footed. The goal was scored with his left foot from 12 yards, but the journey to that position represented football artistry that transcended normal performance categories. Johan Cruyff's statistical achievements during his Ballon d'Or winning years were impressive but don't fully capture his revolutionary impact on football tactics and philosophy. His 1,974 season featured 33 goals in 44 appearances for Ajax, but his influence extended far beyond personal statistics toward fundamentally changing how football was played and understood. His performances during the 1974 World Cup represented tactical innovation in action, with his movement between positions creating problems that opposing teams had never encountered. His 3 goals and 3 assists across 7 matches provided statistical evidence, but his true contribution was systematic, creating space for teammates while maintaining positional discipline that made total football possible. The famous Cruyff turn against Sweden in the 1974 World Cup became an iconic moment that represented his approach to problem-solving on the football pitch. Receiving the ball near the touchline, with a defender closing him down, his sudden change of direction with the outside of his foot created space where none had existed while leaving the defender completely stranded. Roberto Baggio's 1,993 Ballon d'Or winning season featured 30 goals and 15 assists across all competitions, but his influence on Juventus extended far beyond these numbers toward complete transformation of their attacking approach. His performances in the UEFA Cup campaign were particularly crucial, with 9 goals across 13 European matches demonstrating his capacity to excel against diverse international opposition. His goal against Real Madrid in the UEFA Cup final represented the technical brilliance that defined his career, receiving the ball 25 yards from goal with his back to the defense. His first touch created space, while his second, a perfectly placed curled effort, flew past the goalkeeper with such precision that it seemed guided by invisible hands. The 1,994 World Cup performances that should have complemented his Ballon d'Or recognition featured 5 goals and 2 assists across 7 matches, with Italy's run to the final built largely around his individual brilliance. His goal against Bulgaria in the semi-final, a trademark free kick that demonstrated his technical mastery, N5, secured Italy's place in the final while showcasing abilities that few players have matched. George Weah's 1,995 breakthrough season featured 18 goals in 35 appearances for AC Milan, numbers that seem modest compared to modern standards but represented exceptional achievement within Milan's tactical system that prioritized collective balance over individual statistics. His impact extended beyond goals toward complete transformation of Milan's attacking approach. His performance against Bayern Munich in the Champions League demonstrated the physical and technical attributes that made him unique among his generation. His goal in that match, a powerful run from midfield that beat 3 defenders before finishing with characteristic precision, showcased the combination of pace, power, and technical skill that redefined what was possible for African players. The cultural significance of Weah's statistical achievements extended far beyond individual numbers toward inspiring an entire continent while demonstrating that exceptional talent could emerge from any background. His success opened pathways for future African players while establishing new standards for physical preparation and technical development. Ronaldinho's peak years at Barcelona, though never rewarded with Ballon d'Or recognition, featured statistical achievements that complemented his legendary entertainment value. His 2004-05 season produced 22 goals and 20 assists across all competitions, numbers that demonstrated productivity alongside the spectacular individual moments that made him beloved worldwide. His performance against Real Madrid in November 2005 remains one of El Clasico's greatest individual displays. 2 goals and an assist tell the statistical story, but his overall performance transcended numbers toward pure football artistry. The standing ovation he received from Real Madrid supporters represented unprecedented recognition of individual brilliance that transcended tribal loyalties. The Elastico he performed against Chelsea's defense during the 2005-06 Champions League campaign became an iconic moment that represented his approach to football, using the outside of his right foot to push the ball one direction before immediately using the inside of the same foot to change direction. He created space through pure technical mastery while leaving defenders completely bewildered. Thierry Henry's Arsenal peak from 2002 to 2006 produced statistics that should have earned Ballon d'Or recognition in any era. His 2003-04 Invincibles season featured 30 goals and 9 assists in 37 Premier League appearances, but his overall contribution extended toward complete transformation of Arsenal's tactical approach and attacking philosophy. His goal against Real Madrid in March 2006 represented the peak of his technical abilities and big game mentality, collecting the ball near the halfway line. His pace took him past 2 defenders before his finish. A perfectly placed shot across Iker Casillas demonstrated clinical ability under ultimate pressure in the Champions League knockout stages. The variety of his goals during this period showcased complete striker's repertoire, powerful drives from outside the penalty area, delicate chips that demonstrated perfect touch, headers that showcased timing and positioning, and clinical finishes in crowded penalty areas that required exceptional composure. Andrés Iniesta's 2010 World Cup final goal against the Netherlands represented individual brilliance in football's most pressurized environment. The goal itself, a perfectly placed shot from 18 yards after a flowing team move, was technically excellent, but its context made it truly special. Scored in extra time of the World Cup final, with his country's first major tournament victory hanging in the balance. His Champions League performances during Barcelona's golden era featured crucial goals that demonstrated his capacity for big-game brilliance. His dramatic equalizer against Chelsea in the 2009 semi-final, a precise finish after intelligent movement in the penalty area, secured Barcelona's progression to the final while showcasing his ability to deliver when stakes were highest. The statistical analysis of Iniesta's passing during this period reveals remarkable consistency and effectiveness: 94% pass completion in La Liga across multiple seasons, with progressive passes that created scoring opportunities for teammates while maintaining possession under extreme pressure. Karim Benzema's 2022 Ballon d'Or winning season featured 44 goals and 15 assists across all competitions, but his Champions League performances were particularly exceptional. 15 goals in 12 Champions League appearances included hat-tricks against Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea that demonstrated sustained excellence in football's most prestigious competition. His performance against Manchester City in the semi-final represented complete striker play at its highest level. 2 goals across 2 legs provided the statistical foundation, but his overall contribution included intelligent movement, precise passing, and tactical leadership that elevated Real Madrid's entire attacking approach. The Panenka penalty he scored against Liverpool in the final demonstrated the confidence and technical mastery that defined his later career. With the Champions League final hanging in the balance, his decision to attempt such an audacious technique and execute it perfectly showed mental strength that separated true champions from merely excellent players. Luka Modric's 2018 Ballon d'Or recognition was built on performances that transcended traditional statistical measures while demonstrating how midfield excellence could influence major tournaments and competitions. His World Cup displays featured 2 goals and 1 assist across 7 matches, but his overall contribution to Croatia's historic run was immeasurable. His performance against Argentina in the group stage showcased every aspect of his complete midfield game. 1 goal and 1 assist provided statistical evidence, but his control of match tempo and distribution from deep positions demonstrated tactical intelligence that few players possess. The Champions League final victory over Liverpool featured a Modric masterclass in midfield control and tactical discipline. His pass completion rate of 96% across 120 minutes of high-intensity football demonstrated technical precision under extreme pressure, while his defensive contribution included crucial interceptions that prevented Liverpool's scoring opportunities. Recent winners like Karim Benzema and Lionel Messi have continued producing exceptional statistical achievements that justify their recognition while showcasing the evolving standards for individual excellence. Messi's 2023 World Cup triumph featured 7 goals and 3 assists across 7 matches, statistical achievement that complemented his overall leadership of Argentina's campaign. The penalty he scored in the final against France demonstrated mental strength and technical precision under ultimate pressure. With Argentina trailing and facing potential penalty shootout, his composed finish established psychological advantage while showcasing the crucial moment brilliance that has defined his career. These statistical achievements and defining moments reveal patterns that extend beyond individual recognition toward understanding how football excellence is achieved and sustained. The greatest Ballon d'Or winners have combined statistical dominance with memorable performances in crucial moments, demonstrating that individual awards require both consistency and spectacular achievement when stakes are highest. The evolution of these statistical standards also reflects football's changing tactical approaches and physical demands. Modern winners typically produce higher statistical totals than previous generations, but they also face more sophisticated defensive systems and increased competition that makes achievement more difficult. Most importantly, these numbers and moments demonstrate that Ballon d'Or recognition requires more than just exceptional ability, MSA. It demands the capacity to deliver exceptional performances when they matter most, in the competitions that capture global attention, and in the moments that define careers and legacies. The statistical legacy of Ballon d'Or winners provides a fascinating record of football's evolution while showcasing the human capacity for sustained excellence under the most demanding conditions. These numbers will inspire future generations while establishing benchmarks that may prove impossible to surpass. The future of the Ballon d'Or. Standing at the intersection of tradition and innovation, the Ballon d'Or faces a future filled with both unprecedented opportunities and significant challenges. As football continues its global expansion and technological revolution, the world's most prestigious individual award must navigate changing demographics, evolving media landscapes, and new definitions of excellence while maintaining the prestige that has defined its 7-decade history. The emergence of new football powerhouses across different continents suggests that future Ballon d'Or winners may come from increasingly diverse backgrounds. Major League Soccer's growing competitiveness, coupled with massive investments in American football infrastructure, could produce the first winner from the United States within the next decade. Similarly, Asia's developing football economies and improved youth systems may finally break through the geographical barriers that have historically limited Asian representation. These potential breakthroughs would carry significance far beyond individual recognition. A Ballon d'Or winner from China, Japan, or India would unlock enormous commercial markets while inspiring new generations of players across the world's most populous regions. The cultural impact could rival George Weah's groundbreaking victory as the first African winner, demonstrating football's truly global nature. the women's game presents perhaps the most exciting frontier for Ballon d'Or expansion. The Ballon d'Or Féminine, introduced in 2018, has already begun establishing its own traditions and controversies. However, the growing professionalization of women's football, increased television coverage, and rising commercial investment suggest that the Women's Award could eventually rival its male counterpart in terms of global attention and cultural significance. Players like Alexia Putellas, Sam Kerr, and Kylian Mbappe's potential future female counterparts represent a generation that has grown up with professional aspirations and global visibility. Their pursuit of excellence occurs within increasingly sophisticated tactical systems and commercial frameworks that mirror the men's game's evolution during the 1,990 seconds and 2,000 seconds. Technology's influence on future Ballon d'Or selections will likely prove revolutionary. Advanced analytics already provide insights into player contributions that traditional statistics cannot capture. Expected goals, progressive passing, defensive actions, and other sophisticated metrics offer more nuanced evaluations of player value than simple goal and assist tallies. Video analysis technology allows scouts and voters to evaluate player performances with unprecedented detail and objectivity. Heat maps, passing networks, and positional tracking provide data that could revolutionize how voters assess candidates from different leagues and playing styles. Artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms may eventually provide objective measures of player performance that could supplement or even challenge traditional voting processes. These technologies could identify patterns and contributions that human observers might miss, creating more comprehensive evaluations of individual excellence. However, the integration of technology into Ballon d'Or voting will require careful balance between innovation and tradition. The award's prestige partly derives from its human element, the recognition of excellence by peers and experts who understand football's subtleties beyond statistical measures. The debate between objective metrics and subjective evaluation reflects broader tensions in modern football analysis. While data provides valuable insights, the game's artistic and emotional elements resist pure quantification. Future Ballon d'Or processes will need to incorporate technological advances while preserving the human judgment that makes the award meaningful. Voting transparency represents another area where the Ballon d'Or may evolve significantly. Current processes involve journalists from around the world, but the selection criteria and voting rationale remain largely opaque. Future iterations might require voters to provide detailed explanations for their choices, creating greater accountability and understanding. Real-time voting updates, similar to political elections or entertainment awards, could increase global engagement while providing insights into how different regions and demographics evaluate player excellence. This transparency could reduce conspiracy theories and controversial selections while maintaining competitive drama. The expansion of voting constituencies presents intriguing possibilities. Currently limited to journalists, future processes might include former players, coaches, or even fan representatives. Each constituency would bring different perspectives and priorities, potentially creating more comprehensive evaluations of player worth. However, expanded voting also creates risks of political influence and commercial manipulation. The balance between inclusivity and expertise will determine whether broader participation enhances or diminishes the award's credibility and significance. Commercial pressures will continue shaping the Ballon d'Or's future direction. The award's global reach and cultural significance make it valuable intellectual property that generates substantial revenue through broadcasting rights, sponsorship deals, and merchandise sales. These commercial considerations may influence voting processes, ceremony formats, and even eligibility criteria. The potential for conflict between commercial interests and sporting merit creates ongoing challenges for award organizers. Maintaining credibility while maximizing revenue requires careful navigation of competing pressures and stakeholder expectations. New media platforms and content distribution methods will transform how audiences engage with the Ballon d'Or. Virtual reality experiences could allow fans to attend the ceremony remotely, while social media integration might create interactive voting experiences or behind-the-scenes content that deepens engagement. The rise of global streaming platforms provides opportunities to reach new audiences while creating alternative revenue streams. However, these platforms also fragment audiences and create competition for attention that traditional media didn't face. Generational changes in media consumption will require the Ballon d'Or to adapt its presentation and marketing strategies. Younger audiences expect interactive, social, and immediate content experiences that differ significantly from traditional television broadcasts. The climate crisis and sustainability concerns may influence future Ballon d'Or ceremonies and associated events. Carbon footprint considerations could affect venue selection, travel requirements, and production methods as sporting organizations face pressure to demonstrate environmental responsibility. These concerns might also influence player evaluation criteria, with environmental awareness and social responsibility becoming factors in voting decisions. Players who use their platforms to advocate for important causes could receive additional recognition for their broader societal contributions. Geopolitical tensions and international relations will continue affecting the Ballon d'Or's global reach and voting processes. Political conflicts, economic sanctions, and diplomatic disputes can complicate international participation and create controversial situations around player eligibility and ceremony attendance. The award's French origins and European organizational structure may face challenges as global power balances shift and new football federations demand greater representation in decision-making processes. These pressures could force organizational changes that reflect football's increasingly multipolar landscape. Youth development and academy systems worldwide are increasingly focused on producing Ballon d'Or caliber talents. National federations and club academies study winner profiles to understand the attributes and development pathways that lead to individual excellence. This systematic approach to talent development may produce more technically sophisticated players who combine traditional skills with modern tactical understanding and physical conditioning. Future winners might represent the culmination of more scientific and comprehensive development processes. The increasing professionalization of youth football, combined with global scouting networks and transfer systems, suggests that future Ballon d'Or winners may have more diverse developmental backgrounds. Players might combine influences from multiple countries and coaching philosophies, creating unique playing styles that reflect football's global nature. Injury prevention and sports science advances could extend playing careers and peak performance periods, potentially allowing future winners to maintain excellence longer than previous generations. Players might compete for Ballon d'Or recognition across longer timeframes, creating new patterns of sustained dominance. Mental health awareness and psychological support systems in professional football continue improving, potentially allowing more players to reach their maximum potential. The intersection of physical and mental optimization could produce future winners whose achievements surpass current standards. The Ballon d'Or's role in establishing player legacies and historical rankings will likely grow more sophisticated. Enhanced record-keeping, video archives, and analytical frameworks will allow future generations to make more informed comparisons between players from different eras. These developments could influence how current and future players approach their careers, with historical consciousness becoming a more explicit factor in decision-making processes. Players might increasingly consider how their choices will be evaluated by future voters and historians. The award's educational and inspirational role in developing football cultures worldwide will continue expanding. Schools, academies, and youth programs use Ballon d'Or winners as case studies and motivation tools, creating ripple effects that influence player development across multiple generations. As the Ballon d'Or approaches its 8th decade, its future seems secure but not static. The award's ability to maintain relevance and prestige while adapting to changing football landscapes will determine its continued significance in shaping player ambitions and defining excellence. The next chapter of Ballon d'Or history will likely feature players whose names we don't yet know, representing countries that haven't previously produced winners, and achieving recognition through methods and criteria that continue evolving. Yet the fundamental appeal of recognizing individual excellence within team sports ensures that the Golden Ball will remain one of football's most coveted prizes, inspiring future generations to pursue greatness while contributing to the beautiful game's endless capacity for surprise and wonder. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Conclusion: the Golden Legacy. As our journey through nearly 7 decades of Ballon d'Or history draws to a close, we're left with a profound appreciation for how a simple golden sphere has become so much more than just an award. It has evolved into a mirror that reflects football's soul, capturing the dreams, controversies, brilliance, and humanity that make the beautiful game truly universal. From Stanley Matthews' pioneering triumph in 1956 to Lionel Messi's record-extending 8th victory in 2023, the Ballon d'Or has witnessed football's transformation from a primarily European pastime into the world's most popular sport. Each winner represents not just individual excellence, but a moment in time when skill, circumstance, and recognition aligned to create lasting legacy. The controversies we've explored, from Pelé and Maradona's ineligibility during their peaks to recent debates about voting criteria, remind us that perfection in recognition is impossible. Yet these very debates demonstrate the passion and investment that fans, players, and media have in celebrating excellence. The arguments about who deserved to win reveal how deeply we care about honoring greatness. The statistical patterns tell us that football favors attackers, rewards team success, and increasingly values global representation. But the human stories behind these numbers, Weah's breakthrough as African football's standard-bearer, Modric's unexpected triumph, Kaká's moment of individual brilliance, prove that statistics alone cannot capture what makes certain achievements transcendent. The Messi-Ronaldo duopoly created the most sustained period of individual excellence in sporting history. Their rivalry elevated not just their own performances, but the entire sport's global profile. Future players will chase their records while creating their own definitions of greatness, but the bar they set may prove impossible to clear. Looking ahead, the Ballon d'Or faces challenges that will test its adaptability and relevance. Technological advances, changing media landscapes, evolving football demographics, and new definitions of excellence will require constant evolution. Yet the core appeal, recognizing individual brilliance within team sports, remains timeless. The award's influence extends far beyond the football pitch. Young players worldwide dream of lifting the golden ball, shaping their development and career choices. Coaches build tactical systems around potential winners. Nations celebrate victories as matters of cultural pride. Commercial markets respond to winner announcements with immediate valuation changes. Perhaps most importantly, the Ballon d'Or serves as football's collective memory, preserving moments of magic for future generations. When we watch archive footage of Johan Cruyff's elegant turns, Michel Platini's free-kick mastery, or Ronaldinho's impossible skills, we're witnessing preserved excellence that the award helped immortalize. The ceremony itself has become a cultural event that transcends sport, bringing together players, coaches, journalists, and celebrities from around the world. These annual gatherings celebrate not just individual achievement but football's power to unite people across cultural, linguistic, and political boundaries. For all its imperfections and controversies, the Ballon d'Or has succeeded in its fundamental mission, inspiring excellence while providing a framework for evaluating and celebrating greatness. The debates it generates, the dreams it fuels, and the legacies it helps establish have enriched football culture immeasurably. As we've seen throughout this comprehensive exploration, the Ballon d'Or is ultimately about more than individual recognition. It's about the human pursuit of perfection, the beauty of sporting achievement, and the eternal quest to answer that most compelling question: who is the best player in the world? The Golden Ball will continue evolving, adapting to new eras while maintaining its essential character. Future winners will add their names to a prestigious list that reads like a who's who of football greatness. New controversies will emerge, fresh debates will rage, and unexpected triumphs will surprise us all. But through all these changes, the Ballon d'Or will remain what it has always been, a symbol of excellence that captures our imagination and reminds us why we fell in love with football in the first place. In a sport defined by moments of magic, the award ensures that individual brilliance receives the recognition it deserves. Whether you've stayed awake through this entire journey or drifted off while dreaming of football glory, one thing remains certain: the Ballon d'Or will continue inspiring players to chase perfection, fans to debate greatness, and all of us to appreciate the beautiful game's capacity for producing moments that transcend sport itself. The Golden Ball awaits its next recipient, ready to continue a legacy that began with Stanley Matthews and will extend far into football's future. And somewhere, a young player is taking their first touches of a football, dreaming of one day joining the immortal list of Ballon d'Or winners who have defined excellence for nearly 7 decades. The story continues, and the golden legacy endures. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video about previous video title.